We are live. We are live. Welcome to college football's peek around the corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends if you want to support this independent national rebel outpost college football channel with a donation to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Just hit that $ where you make your comment and I will get to super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. We are hoping this live stream of the Protect College Sports Act goes as good as the last one we did a couple of weeks ago. Or was it last week? I have no idea. The link doesn't work yet. I'm a little nervous. It's supposed to go off in about 9 minutes from now. So hopefully it all works. A couple announcements early here. One, I will have to leave the studio at about 10:10 Eastern Time, 9:10 Central Time. So I'm hoping they have this Senate hearing going on. There's a link where we can get into it, and then you all can watch it. And then I will be coming back. I do have to go on the road. I got to take the little general somewhere. I'm going to be coming back. So I'm hoping, I am praying that Senator Cruz and Maria Cantwell and all the other senators get seated and ready to go and have this link working. While I am gone, everybody has to behave themselves, right? Now, I'm still looking at, Rich Austin, the Utah Ute that I had to take off. He's going to come, I have not done it yet, but he's going to get back into the channel. And so is Karan Shakar and everybody else. But I haven't, but everyone's got to cool it in the chat room. I don't mind the elbows. I don't mind the disagreement. That's what this channel is for. But you cannot, look, we've got new people coming to our live shows every single day. And they see a chat room in which people are just ripping on each other's intelligence and everything else. I don't want to see it, all right? Rip on me, rip on the Minnesota Golden Gophers if you got to get something off your chest. But keep the personal attacks away, or at least very minimal. I understand people get hot under the collar, but when it goes on, I'm on the air for two and a half hours sometimes. And I see it for like an hour and a half where we're talking some really good college football stuff. It gets a little depressing, I got to be honest with you. So, everybody who was silenced is going to get back in eventually. That is my last warning. All right? So, hopefully things go smoothly today. Hopefully we have a live stream that works. Hopefully, by the way, YouTube, I am declaring fair use to use the live stream of the Senate. I'm declaring fair use. It's going to be up on my right-hand corner of the screen during the live stream. YouTube. All right. I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube. Woo! All right, I want to thank everybody for coming on in. Preston from Greensboro, North Carolina. We've got Stormy Cyclone. I do not know, Stormy. What, if any, effect does the Fox $22 billion purchase of Roku have on sports streaming? I don't know. I saw somebody say it's like Roku, like Fox is buying $100 million remote controls out there. It is an Axis play. But I don't know. That's so far beyond what my brain can comprehend, Stormy Cyclone. Let me know what you think. Let me know. We've got the Arkansas Razorback is in the house. Nick Kelso. RT, Oklahoma State Cowboy. MBM, Oklahoma State Cowboy. We got the Ohio Bobcat. Steven Vitt. Dave B is in the house. Caleb Ramirez, the Buckeye. Jer Jones. Go Black 45. Go Black 45. Caleb Ramirez, that will be introduced hopefully on our second live show later today if I can pull it off. D5 Terps, Darrell CRH, Go Utes is in the house. Go Black 45. Mike is here. Tazbo Skaven, yes, the Cornhusker. Doug McLennan, don't be afraid. Thank you for coming on in, Doug. I appreciate it. Okay, that's about it. If I missed you, I apologize. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to pray that this live stream works. We are praying that this kicks off here. before I have to leave. Or this will be the shortest live stream I've ever had, except for the ones that I am muted or something else is not working. Again, YouTube on the far right, upper right corner of my screen is the I do declare fair use. All right? I am declaring fair use. The fair use doctrine. College football peek around the corner with Greg Pflugar live stream in the Senate hearing, Protective College Sports Act, Senate Committee, Commerce, Science, and Transportation, the fair use doctrine, non-commercial, educational, or transformative uses. There it is, YouTube. There it is. And it's going to be up on the screen the whole show. All right? All right. We'll see what happens. So there it is. If anybody has this set up on another device, give me a heads up if this thing actually starts. All right? I would appreciate it. I would appreciate the heads up. All right. We do have some breaking news. We do have some breaking news that came on, that happened right before we came on live. Very, 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 very interesting. Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. There has been a change. Ross Dellinger, a change has been made to the Protect College Sports Act anti-expansion provision. Sources tell Yahoo Sports. The provision, at first only targeting the SEC and the Big Ten, now applies to leagues earning $700 million in revenue, down from $1 billion in revenue. It now incorporates the ACC and the Big 12. Of note, the Big 12 is projected to reach $700 million in revenue next year. The ACC is already there. The language freezes conference membership if the bill becomes law. Okay. Now, what does that mean? That means the Big Ten and the SEC are not solely being targeted in this bill. That the Big 12 and the ACC also can expand. Now, is that going to be the trick? Is that going to be the measure that gets SEC and Big Ten support? No. Even though that is something that the SEC and the Big Ten did not like in the bill, their number one, they've got a bunch of concerns. Their biggest one is that the government is going to eventually become the authority in deciding what college sports and college football looks like. It is not some governing body. It is not the member institutions that are going to get any skinny antitrust exemption. It's basically going to be the government running this thing. This is the number one fear for the SEC and the Big Ten. There are other fears in the bill that it really doesn't stop the suing of what they've got. It gives it gives people the ability to sue, to litigate this result. It's in the bill. It's like we've already gone through it. So no, it doesn't. Could it make it an easier sell now that you're treating the Big 12 and the ACC like the Big 10 and the SEC? Sure. But think of it this way. The bill freezes Power 4 membership. In other words, UConn, you're out of luck. The government freezes you out. University of South Florida, all those things that you've been working on, that AAU, that new football stadium that's about to kick in, you're frozen out. Boise State, you're frozen out. Memphis, you're frozen out. So, this new change in this non-expansion part of the bill may work for some, but it ain't going to work for others. That is that's my opinion on it. Let me know what your opinion on it is. Let's see. He got in trouble, but he is going to be included back in. A lot of people got in trouble. It was not just him, but he'll get included back in. D5 Terps, the bill is already dead. The limiting movement of teams seems a violation of the law. Good morning, Mama Doug Humson Tiger. Thanks for coming on in. Rock and Rant is also streaming this on his channel. Well, hopefully one of us, if I don't get it to work, go to Rock and Rant's channel and give it a watch. I have to leave here in a little bit. So this thing has to work real soon. All right, here we go. It looks like we got it up and running. Ladies and gentlemen. Looks like we got it up and running. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Long, Greg was catching up on my Chicago PD season and realized Razak, my favorite on the show, last name is Pfluger, and he is from Minnesota.
Morning. The Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation will come to order.
He's not related to me.
For years,
he's not related to me.
Athletes, fans, and universities.
All right, ladies and gentlemen,
have watched the
this is the live stream.
Sports.
Please behave yourselves.
Court decisions.
We will get to your phone calls later in the show.
Transfer disputes.
I will.
Collectives.
If there's any any kind super chats that come on in to support this channel, to support this live stream, we'll go through the super chats later in the program as a batch. I appreciate it.
Too often left exposed.
So I'm going to be leaving here in a few minutes. Behave yourselves. Listen, I'm going to be listening while I'm in the car. I will get back in the studio as quick as I possibly can. Thank you for your support.
I want to thank Ranking Member Cantwell, Senator Eric Schmidt, Senator Chris Coons, all of whom have spent months and years working to craft this legislation.
One more question.
And to build the bipartisan coalition behind
Please answer in the chat room.
I also want to thank members of this committee.
Is the volume working
constructively to
Can
the process.
you hear?
Including Senator Fisher for her work on the Super League prohibition. Similar concerns and amendments were raised by Senators Baldwin, Icker, and we've listened.
Is the volume good? Can you hear Cruz?
I also want to thank Senators Budd, Capito, Hickenlooper, and Rosen, whose work has helped improve the bill before us today. No one got everything they wanted, but we did create a framework that stabilizes college athletics in the NIL and revenue sharing era. The substitute we are considering reflects that work. It strengthens the bill, responds to concerns raised by members and stakeholders, and it preserves the bipartisan agreement that brought us here. The new version includes a more balanced approach to the Super League issue. Rather than targeting any one conference or treating the SEC and Big Ten differently from everyone else, it focuses on broader principles we're trying to protect: fair competition, broad opportunity, and a college sports system that remains open to more than a handful of the wealthiest programs. The new agreement also reflects the critical importance of Olympic sports. That is a major part of what this bill is about. College athletics is not only football and men's basketball. It is also swimming and wrestling and rowing, gymnastics, track and field, softball, and many other sports that create educational opportunities and help develop America's future Olympians and future leaders. That's because the greatest risk facing college athletics today is not any single controversy, court decision, or headline. The greatest threat to college sports is inaction. The laws enacted by past Congresses are the reason why the current system is growing more unstable. If Congress doesn't fix these laws and pass this bill, the cost of our failure will be measured not only in dollars or wins and losses. The cost of our failure will be measured in lost opportunities. Opportunities to earn a scholarship, to compete, to earn a college degree. Doing nothing means hundreds of thousands of students that right now have the chance to go to college see that opportunity go away. I know that some say that because college athletics is so popular, Congress should not get involved. But high television ratings or rabid fan bases do not prove that the system is healthy. It just proves that the product is worth saving. Millions of Americans care deeply about college sports. They care about the athletes and the schools. They care about the rivalries and the traditions that connect families and towns and campuses and states. That is precisely why Congress cannot simply hope that the system will correct itself. Any serious solution must begin with reality. The NIL era is here. It is reality. The Protect College Sports Act embraces this new environment while establishing the rules necessary to bring order to the chaos. Student athletes should be able to earn money from their name, image, and likeness. This bill protects that. But a system that protects athletes also needs rules. Real NIL is not the same thing as a disguised recruiting payment, as a booster in a back alley with a bag of cash. Revenue sharing is not the same thing as unlimited cap evasion. Athlete mobility is not the same thing as permanent roster free agency. And legal certainty does not mean a blank check. The Protect College Sports Act draws these lines. It protects legitimate NIL activity while distinguishing real endorsement deals from payments used to buy rosters. It protects scholarships. It strengthens medical coverage for athletes. It restores structure to transfers and eligibility. And it protects athletes from inducements and tampering. Athletes get real NIL certainty, medical protections, academic and scholarship protections. Schools get enforceable rules and stability. Fans get stronger protections for rivalries, access to game, and fair competition. Let me give an analogy about where we are today. On the football field, punting on the fourth down can often be the prudent choice. But there are moments in a game when the stakes, the field position, the time left on the clock demands that you go for it. We have studied the challenges and seen the consequences of standing still. The future of college athletics is now in Congress's hands. We can sit in the stands and watch the system continue to unravel, or we can step onto the field and lead. I believe this moment calls for leadership. No more punting. We're in fourth down territory. It's time to go for it. I would note that there are a total of 24 conferences across the country that are enthusiastically supporting this bill. The NFL is supporting this bill. The NBA is supporting this bill. Major League Baseball is supporting this bill. The NBA Players Association is supporting this bill. The NFL Players Association is supporting this bill. College coaches, we have over 100 coaches, many of the most prominent coaches in the country, enthusiastically supporting this bill. I strongly urge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to support the Protect College Sports Act. And I will note we have received 38 additional letters of support since our hearing 2 weeks ago. We now have vocal public support from 23 conferences representing 249 schools in 49 states. With that, I'll recognize Ranking Member Cantwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you for this bipartisan accomplishment. A lot of people in Washington, my Washington, and around the country think that bipartisanship is dead. But on behalf of 500,000 athletes who are seeing their future opportunities dimmed, we decided to work together to try to address this problem. I want to thank our colleague, Senator Coons, who's in the back of the audience here, for his participation in helping us get this over the goal line. And before I go on, I want to thank our staffs for both the majority and the minority committee, including Shannon Smith, who had to retire a week ago. But this staff has worked on this issue tirelessly for a long period of time, and we just could not be here today without them. As you said, this is landmark legislation. It is landmark legislation because it is the first time we will be creating a federal right for student athletes in name, image, and likeness that does preempt state laws that are much weaker and basically negate many of the opportunities of athletes if you are in conflict with your university. This bill stands tall on behalf of athletes. It's landmark legislation because it codifies 10 years of scholarship opportunities for athletes so that you can complete your college education. We're not saying it takes you 10 years. We're simply saying that you have your 5 years of scholarship, and if somehow you do go make it to a pro league and want to come back, we also give you additional time to complete that college education. 10 years of making sure that your health and your health care is covered. And I think that this is landmark because not only are you covering the time that you're playing as an athlete, but in case that you're injured, we are also helping you after you graduate from college to take care of any of those issues. I want to thank the chairman again for including a major piece of the legislation, historic legislation, in a medical trust fund to help institutions like HBCUs who can't afford to meet those obligations or the obligations of CTE, to include that as a first-time part of federal legislation. Historic. I want to thank the McNair family who first brought these issues to us when their son died playing football in Maryland in the heat of the day and basically did not receive enough proper training. He educated us on the standards that needed to be in our legislation on health and safety. And this is the most landmark piece of legislation protecting student athletes for the type of preparation they need to compete in college sports. I want to thank the chairman for including an improvement to that medical trust fund offered by Senator Kim to make sure that that money is enhanced in the future if somehow it's not meeting the needs of what is required. The legislation is also landmark in that it definitely makes sure that predatory contracting done by agents or universities or conferences or shill organizations don't get students stuck in binding arbitration. no way out because you signed a document that basically you didn't even understand and basically took away your legal rights. This is landmark in the protections that it gives student athletes. It is also landmark in cutting down on agents' activities because we've seen the worst of activities taking advantage of high school students, asking them to sign. Somebody comes up to you in a high school gym after you've had a miraculous night and they promise you an NBA career if you'll just allow them to represent you. The next thing you know, you've signed a piece of paper that probably signed away property, signed away earnings, signed away things that even if you never make it into college or the pros, all of a sudden now you are financially obligated to this person who took advantage of you. So making agents register, making them liable for deceitful information, making them accountable to a federal law of fines is a first-time federal law that will help us in cracking down on these bad actors. I want to emphasize a couple of points. First, I want to thank Senator Hickenlooper for his unbelievable leadership in thinking about women in Olympic sports. I know he comes from a state where they care so much about women in Olympic sports, but the majority helped work with Senator Hickenlooper and the USOPC to not only protect our bill as it does for the Sports Broadcasting Act and future revenue going to women in Olympic sports, landmark provisions authored by Senator Hickenlooper and negotiated with the majority basically says that those women in Olympic sports should be protected for the next 9 years from the wealthiest divisions and from those who are more struggling for the next 4 years. Why is that so important? It's important because we are already seeing cuts to thousands of women in Olympic sports, and we need them to be protected throughout this. I will note that there was recent public polling that said that 87% of the public think the number one priority here is not football. Believe it or not, a lot of this discussion is about football. Believe it or not, the number one thing the public cares about, 87% of the public, please protect women in Olympic sports. And that is exactly what this bill does. And so I want to thank Senator Hickenlooper for that. There's been much made and discussion about whether student athletes support this bill. Mr. Chairman, I want to enter into the record a letter from a student athlete advocacy group that basically represents 500,000 students in Division I, Division II, and Division III committees, who says the bill's protections for student athletes at all divisions, including transfer rights, changes in college sports, graduation, and sexual harassment and sexual assault and harassment, that this is great transparency on registration and fees and important antitrust protection. So I want to enter that into the record.
Without objection, will be admitted.
And there has been much made of late that somehow maybe the Congressional Black Caucus doesn't support us moving forward on this bill. They have not said that somehow maybe some other organizations that want to slow this issue down. I get that they definitely want to slow down the SCORE Act. I join them in that effort. But I'd also like to enter into the record a letter from Craig Robinson, who is the brother of Michelle Obama, brother-in-law to the President of the United States, who asks us to support this legislation because, as he says, he was a coach and a student athlete himself, and he supports this legislation. So I doubt the President's brother-in-law would be joining us in this effort if he thought anything in this act was untowards athletes or not a victory in moving forward the debate on how important it is to represent athletes' rights.
Without objection, that will be admitted as well.
There are some people who think that doing nothing can lead to collective bargaining, and while I think I'm supportive of a concept, our witness before the committee thought that collective bargaining from the Pac-12 is something, but I get the Pac-12 is probably a state bottom-up approach that might work. But having a bottom-down approach here in the United States Senate where somehow somebody thinks we're going to pass a mandate by the federal government to say that state employees could somehow be mandated by the federal government to collectively bargain is not something that's going to happen anytime soon. Our legislation does, though, say, let's create a commission with students, with HBCUs, with the interested parties, and discuss what is the best foot forward for collective bargaining or other options that can continue to solve some of our problems. So, Mr. Chairman, there are some on our side who would have loved more time to deal with this bill. Clearly, it is complex. There are some that would hope that we would continue to make further changes. I commit to them that we are going to do that. But we need order and stability now. The craziness that is happening in this marketplace with cutting of thousands of roster slots, the taxing students' fees for education to pay for football, the arms race that is basically taking money away from research and development. Our task here is to win the race and innovation against the Chinese, a $1.4 billion population. We have 500 million in our country. How are we going to do that? Because we have a better education system, and it's all over the country, but not if we continue to let the demise of college sports not only take away athletes' rights, not only take away revenue, but also diminish our R&D capabilities, particularly at land-grant institutions. So, Mr. Chairman, I know we made big concessions last night to the Big Ten to make sure that they felt that this was a bill that helped protected their interests for the future. I'm sure we're going to have many more conversations with them down the road. But as my colleague Senator Wicker knows, we've been working on this issue for a long time, since his time as chairman of the committee. And I just ask my colleagues to support this legislation today because it does have a few other little tools in here. One, it literally says you cannot block content in your region from being on over-the-air broadcasting. I am sick and tired of these people putting broadcast content of us seeing our favorite football team. All of a sudden, you can't watch it because it's behind a paywall. That is not what the American consumer wants or deserves, and that protection in this legislation is landmark. I also think that the tool in this legislation to increase streaming media rights for non-revenue sports, women's volleyball, women's basketball, or rowing that is historic at the University of Washington, allows those sports to go out and capitalize on revenue opportunities to grow their sport, their attention, and their future. So, Mr. Chairman, this is landmark. I appreciate us working together. I appreciate our colleagues moving this bill out of committee. It's not the last that we're going to see to changes of this. I encourage more dialogue with all our colleagues, and I will certainly be communicating with the Congressional Black Caucus on these issues, but I certainly will be communicating with the rest of our Senate colleagues as well. But, Mr. Chairman, I've said it many times. I think, you and I disagree on about 25 things, and that's just in this committee. But we did not allow that disagreement to thwart progress on a critical subject. And I think that anybody who thinks that there's another opportunity forward is going to be mistaken, because I think we have seen from the NCAA and the conferences that they cannot figure out how to get this structure right. They need our help. They've asked for it, and today we're giving it. Thank you.
Thank you, and I want to sincerely thank Ranking Member Cantwell. You have been a partner in this project. This has been a very difficult project. You and I sat in conference rooms for 6 to 8 hours a day, day after day after day, painstakingly negotiating each and every provision of this bill. And there were moments when I'm sure you wanted to throw me out a window, and you restrained, and at times our staff were ready to throttle each other. And by the way, we had a secret that I would bring out Cuban coffee at that point, and Cuban coffee is a wonderful tool of bribery that calmed everyone down. Sugar and caffeine somehow got us back to work. And so I have appreciated the hard work and time and energy that you put into this bill. We wouldn't be here without that. I know there are a number of members who want to make additional comments. I'm going to ask, because we have a quorum present right now, I'm going to ask if we can move to the votes first, and then I will stay as long as anyone wants to make comments after the votes. But with that, I will recognize Ranking Member Cantwell for an additional motion.
I move, Mr. Chairman, I move that S 4668, the Protect College Sports Act of 2026 as amended by the Cruz-Cantwell-Schmidt substitute as modified, Bud 1 as modified, Bud 5 as modified, Bud 7 as modified, Capito 1 as modified, Curtis 1 as modified, Duckworth 1 as modified, Duckworth 4 as modified, Duckworth 6 as modified, Kim 1, Lujan 1 as modified, Rosen 1 as modified, Rosen 2, Sheehy 1 as modified, Sullivan 1 as modified, Wicker 2 as modified be favorably reported.
Is there a second? Is there any discussion? Are there any amendments that people would like to introduce?
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Baldwin.
Mr. Chairman, I have one amendment that I'd like to offer for a vote. I have an additional one that I'd like to offer for discussion and then withdraw, just so you know my plan of action here. For a vote, I'd like to bring up Baldwin number 3. And I'm happy to make a brief statement while it's being distributed.
Great.
Look, the primary goal of private equity firms is really to squeeze every penny out of an acquired asset. Private equity doesn't really care about an athlete's academic opportunities. Private equity doesn't care about team morale or the quality of coaching staff. Private equity doesn't care about preserving and growing women's and Olympic sports. Private equity doesn't care about the student or fan experience. They only care about how much money they can make. This should not be the objective of universities or their athletic departments. This amendment would simply prohibit schools from working with private equity to sell or license their media rights or in the operation of their athletic programs. And I encourage all my colleagues to support this amendment. Would ask for a roll call vote on it.
Thank you, Senator Baldwin. I appreciate the sentiment behind this amendment. I'm going to vote no on it. I would encourage members to vote no on it. There's nothing in this bill that creates any that speaks to private equity. But at the end of the day, colleges are all facing challenges, revenue challenges. They're trying to support their athletes. They're trying to support women's sports. They're trying to support Olympic sports. And they are looking at a range of possibilities. I don't believe we should be foreclosing any of those possibilities. I think the issue certainly merits further discussion over time, but I don't think we should be enacting a blanket prohibition right now. Sir. Any further discussion? Okay, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Thune?
No by proxy.
Mr. Wicker? No. Mrs. Fisher? No. Mr. Moran? No. Mr. Sullivan? Mrs. Blackburn? No. Mr. Young? No. Mr. Budd? Mr. Schmidt? Mr. Curtis? Mr. Moreno? No. Mr. Sheehy?
No by proxy.
Mrs. Capito? Ms. Lummis?
No by proxy.
Ms. Cantwell?
No.
Ms. Klobuchar?
Aye.
Mr. Schatz?
No by proxy.
Mr. Markey?
No by proxy.
Mr. Peters? Aye. Ms. Baldwin?
Aye.
Ms. Duckworth?
No, yes, by proxy.
Ms. Rosen?
Aye.
Mr. Lujan? Mr. Hickenlooper? Mr. Fetterman?
Aye by proxy.
Mr. Kim? Ms. Blunt Rochester?
Yes by proxy.
Mr. Cruz?
No.
The noes are 20, the yeses are 8.
The amendment is not agreed to. Are there further amendments?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to offer but withdraw these two amendments, Schmidt 3 and Schmidt 4, but let me give a brief explanation of what they are. I'm confident in working with Senator Cruz and Cantwell and others as we have, that we're going to find resolution on this. So we've got the two buckets. We've got the governance piece, and then we have potentially opening up new revenue opportunities, which is the second bucket. So both of these amendments address that issue. So the idea is that conferences could come together if they choose to pool their media rights. And so you go from a $4 billion proposition to a whatever the number is, certainly higher than $4 billion, to help support women's sports and Olympic sports. So what Schmidt 3 does, it would lower the threshold from 75% to 70% of those member institutions, effectively allowing for the conferences like the ACC, the Big 12, the Mountain West to be able to pool. If the threshold is 75%, there are a couple of conferences that could block the pooling altogether. So while I do not support forcing any conference into a pooling scenario, I want to provide as many options as possible for conferences to pool if they choose. So that's what this would do. We're withdrawing that, but again, I think we're very comfortable moving forward with the conversations that we've had. The second piece deals with the board composition if you go do it. If you go do it. So if we really want to incent, the reality of the situation is, if this is really going to work, you really want to have the Big Ten and the SEC as part of that. And in my view, we don't want to force them to do it. I don't think there should be any effort, legal or otherwise, to force them to do it. But we have to have an incentive structure in place that would provide the maximum opportunity for them to want to join. So the board composition of whatever this looks like really, really matters. And so Schmidt 5 would say that you're renegotiating that so the SEC and Big Ten would actually feel comfortable. So if this is really going to work, you really want to have everybody do it together. And that may or may not happen. Those conferences may choose, we don't want to do it, we think we can get a better deal, and that's fine. But we want to provide the maximum runway for the conferences to be able to pool if they want to. But having said that, I will withdraw those two amendments and look forward to working with the chair and my two friends, Senator Cruz and Senator Cantwell.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Schmidt. Senator Cantwell.
I just want to thank my colleague from Missouri for his hard work on this, and I certainly do want to work with him in the future. Clearly getting this right so that schools and institutions across the country feel fairly represented in what is a distribution of revenue and a process where we could move forward on maximizing more revenue. Why do we want to do that? Because the analysis is there that there is revenue that could be helpful to create stability. And personally, I like the marriage between college sports and local broadcasting. I want to see more local broadcast stations survive, and being able to get this right is critical. So I look forward to working with my colleague.
Thank you. And Senator Baldwin, I apologize. You had two amendments, and I moved away after one. That was inadvertent, so I recognize Senator Baldwin again.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I intend to offer and then withdraw Baldwin 2, which relates to how fans are able to watch their favorite teams play. I suspect everyone in this room has heard about frustrations from their constituents in trying to watch their favorite professional sports teams play. They are met with blackouts and paywalls. We did a quick calculation in Wisconsin. If you want to be a super fan and watch every Packers game, every Brewers game, every Bucks game, you would literally have to pay $1,500 a year in the various streaming services, and you'd still potentially be faced with blackouts. Part of this has to do with the definition of, what's a local fan, and what DMA is involved. So for the Packers in Wisconsin, for example, that's just Green Bay and Milwaukee, and not the rest of the state. You have to pay to access otherwise.
Yes.
I have a bill to handle that, but I'm not bringing that bill up today. But it's called the For the Fans Act, so take a look. What I am bringing up is the definition of local, because we should not allow for these frustrations to be expanded to college sports. This amendment would ensure that all fans across the state are able to watch their favorite college teams play without having to deal with the frustration of blackouts and paywalls and a maze of different subscription services that are so pervasive in professional sports. Limiting free access to one or possibly two media markets works generally for states west of the Rockies. To those of us east of the Rockies, we know that our media markets are a jumbled mess that cover far fewer square miles, and they often cross state lines. This amendment ensures equal access by expanding the definition of local to include the whole state, and gives the FCC the ability to add to that definition of local. This would ensure all Wisconsinites can watch the Badgers play without being gouged by paywalls and subscriptions, and it would have similar benefits in other states. I'm going to submit for the record a map of the markets available currently. I will not ask for a vote on this amendment, but I think it's a very serious issue that we also are advocates for local broadcasting and advocates for the fans of these teams.
Thank you, Senator Baldwin. Senator Blackburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know that many of us have worked for years trying to deal with the NCAA and address some of the issues that have arisen because they have not been able to address this issue. And I've got two amendments that we are not going to vote on today, and I'm not going to call them up for a vote, but they are issues that need to be addressed because this is an issue that has languished. What are we going to do about college sports? And the ineptness of the NCAA has brought us to this point. But let's get some things right. Now, Blackburn 1 would expand the bill's broadcast provisions from the NCAA men's and women's basketball tournament to any postseason activity. And we need to think in a more fulsome way about this and look at any activity for men and women's sports rather than getting to some point in the future and say, why did we carve out basketball and not cover baseball, not cover women's softball, not cover tennis? So I don't know if anybody watched the women's college softball tournament this year. It was great. But I think we need to think a little bit more fully about those rights. The second one that I was offering deals with the sovereign immunity clause of the colleges. Now, in this bill that is before us, protecting college sports, what we're asking the colleges to do is to take on new responsibility. The way the bill is written, what it does not do is protect both the state and federal sovereign immunity rights. And Mr. Chairman, I think this is something that we should revisit before we take this bill to the floor. We need to make certain that we are protecting, we need to clarify that we are protecting both the state and federal sovereign immunity rights.
Thank you. Senator Klobuchar.
Yeah, I wanted to just briefly comment on Senator Baldwin's discussion about the markets and how they're different state by state. And I think I so appreciate the work you two have done on this bill and the reforms that are significant steps in the right direction, especially the heightened health and safety standards that work to protect athletes, the focus on women athletes. And so what Senator Baldwin was talking about may be unique in certain states, and that's why I'm hoping that the two of you, coming from states that are not in these markets, would consider working with us in the future. Because in Minnesota, we have, say, 5 markets, and these fans in these markets might be very as much a fan of our college sports teams as one in the immediate market, and they're not covered by this. And so what worries me for our local broadcasters here is they're already hanging on against these paid streamers, monopolies, and then the fans get hurt because all the content is behind a paywall. And so what I hope you will do is work with us on this issue. Some other issues that are specific to the Big Ten, of course, about a legal settlement and things like that that are separate from the broadcasting. But I hope you'll be willing to work with us on this, what Tammy called the East of the Rockies issue, about how we can make sure that the fans in our states are not actually hurt by this because they cannot access what is now free broadcast and instead are forced to go behind an expensive paywall. Thank you.
Senator Cantwell had a brief comment, and then we're going to move to vote.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, quickly, I wanted to say a couple of housekeeping things. One, Senator Markey wants to be a yes on Baldwin too. I might have misstated that.
He'll be recorded as a yes. Baldwin 3. He'll be recorded as a yes on Baldwin.
Thank you so much. And I wanted to say, I want to continue to work on Baldwin 3. I do think there are some current university contracts that might be unwound if we had passed that language, but clearly support her larger efforts and certainly want to work on the media issue with her. We've had success in this committee. Senator Klobuchar has also brought up this issue that we do want less content behind the paywall and more content with broadcasting. The language in the bill clearly gives us the ability to do that by saying if we are going to give an antitrust exemption, we're only giving that antitrust exemption if the public gets something in return. What are we getting from the Sports Broadcasting Act of 1960, which gave this original exemption, is the right to basically say that the content has to be on broadcast. And so this is critically important to the bill, and so I look forward to continuing to work with my colleagues on all of that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And if there's no further discussion, the question is on Senator Cantwell's motion. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Thune,
Aye by proxy.
Mr. Wicker, Mrs. Fisher, Mr. Moran, Mr. Sullivan, Mrs. Blackburn, Mr. Young,
No.
Mr. Budd, Mr. Schmidt, Mr. Curtis, Mr. Moreno, Mr. Sheehy,
Aye by proxy.
Mrs. Capito, Ms. Lummis, Ms. Cantwell,
Aye.
Ms. Klobuchar, Mr. Schatz,
Aye by proxy.
Mr. Markey,
No by proxy.
Mr. Peters, Ms. Baldwin, Ms. Duckworth,
No by proxy.
Ms. Rosen, Mr. Lujan, Mr. Hickenlooper,
Aye by proxy.
Mr. Fetterman,
Aye by proxy.
Mr. Kim, Ms. Blunt Rochester,
No by proxy.
Mr. Cruz,
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I vote no.
Mr. Wicker.
No.
The yeses are 18. The noes are 9.
The motion is agreed to, and it will be reported to the floor. I now recognize Ranking Member Cantwell for an additional motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that PN 6224, PN 658, PN 791, PN 845, PN 848, PN 849, PN 876, PN 908, PN 909, PN 929, PN 1077, Coast Guard promotions be favorably reported.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The motion is agreed to and the nomination is ordered to be favorably reported. I ask for unanimous consent that staff are authorized to make technical and conforming changes without objections. So ordered. And then I was told a number of members wish to speak. The first on the list is Senator Klobuchar.
Oh, and then can I be added to the list, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
I made my remarks, but I again want to thank both of you and my vote, just because the work you're doing is so important. But the few weeks here without being able to get the Midwest input that we think we need, I think would be very helpful, and I hope we get to yes. Thanks.
Senator Moran.
Chairman, just one moment. I cleaned up after myself.
Let me just clarify, right before Senator Moran, the final vote, the total was 19-9, so that number was, just want to clarify that for the record.
Chairman Cruz and Ranking Member Cantwell, I'm not unfamiliar with this topic, and I use this moment to commend you for reaching a conclusion that is broadly supported. A lot of issues arise with this topic, and you've dealt with many of them, including some of the most difficult. As we heard from our colleagues, there's other interests that yet need to be considered, but I congratulate you on your success, because I know how difficult it was and can be. I want to just encourage you to continue to work with the members of this committee, but I'm pleased with the product that you've been able to achieve in all these efforts and all the opportunities that I've had to be engaged in this issue. The goal has been to improve the lot in life for circumstances of students who are student athletes, to create opportunities for them, and to create guidelines for the universities that they attend, universities and colleges, to take care of women and sports that are considered not the major sports at universities, to make sure that we're using our college athletes as an opportunity to increase the number of individuals who are capable and willing to compete in the United States Olympic team. The consequences that occur on college campuses when it involves student athletes, that experience and its importance resounds across the country in ways way beyond the stadium that we're in, or the basketball court that we're sitting on, or the tennis match that we're watching in our home communities and our home universities and colleges. And I've always had an interest in trying to make sure that historically black colleges and community colleges have the opportunity to have student athletes achieve great success in those settings. So thank you for knowing the importance of this issue, working so hard and diligently to reach conclusions. And it is a
Woo! I have been listening to this. I almost drove into a bridge embankment after I dropped out the Little General. Can I give you just one example? One example of the absurdity of all this? They're trying to create more revenue, right? They want to say protecting college sports, right? They want more money for the Olympic sports. They want more money for the women's sports. They want more exposure for everybody. They want more money, right? They're trying to re-engineer everything that has been created in the market, right? So this is what they're thinking. They want to do the pooling of the media rights together. They're looking at an amendment going from 75 to 70%, all this stuff. And then they're talking about, well, if we do this, we got to force more of these games. We can't have it on streaming. We cannot expand the streaming concept, the market of the streaming, of the big streaming companies behind an expensive paywall. We gotta have more of these events on free TV, so to speak. Just saying that affects the market. Having that instituted by the government affects the market. Do you know what would happen if they actually did this thing, Congress, and if they actually had this amendment and all this stuff pass? The money would go down, not up, down. If the streaming companies are not going to be allowed to be a part, again, I don't like to pay all this money. I don't pay all this money for a lot of them. I do. But if you're going to force that part out of the marketplace, if they're not going to be able to come in and try to get their live sporting events, college sporting events on their platforms, that means the other companies are not going to have to, they're not going to bid as much. God almighty, this is just one part of it. These yahoos, with all due respect, these yahoos think they can recreate everything and everyone's going to come out better for it because they're a bunch of geniuses. It's absurd. Absolutely absurd. This might be the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. This whole thing is an exercise in control. They're going to control the conferences. They're going to control the TV. They're going to control the broadcasting. They're going to control the distribution. Eventually, they are going to run this thing. I get it. Everything's unfair right now. I get it. This school, this sport doesn't make as much as that sport. That school makes more money than that school. That team gets to be on ESPN more than that team. That team is stuck on CBS Sports Network. But these geniuses are going to figure everything out, and this sucker is going to run like this is going to be a beautiful thing. I am more dejected than ever before. I really am. Senator Klobuchar, I don't know what the hell you're doing. Honest to God, the University of Minnesota is absolutely 100% against this bill. All right, I'm done yapping.
They must work to ensure that anything we pass works for all schools, including the G6 schools that represent a significant percentage of America's Division I student athletes, including many Olympians. And these the opportunities for our youth to go to school, get an education, and give back to the community. And I'm really pleased to see that this bill takes meaningful steps to stop the arms race we've seen in college athletics in the past few years. Without this legislation, mid-sized schools like those in Nevada and throughout the Mountain West would remain at a competitive disadvantage with the richest schools in the country. And as they've already had to do, we would need to continue to make tough choices about cuts to non-revenue sports, including Olympic sports and many women's teams. I was glad to see provisions added to this bill to prevent public funds from being used for $1 million coaching contracts, that there's protections for survivors of sexual assault, and critical fixes to the transfer portal. I will admit this bill is not perfect. There are several issues I'd like to see addressed in the final legislation, or see us address, in the future. In Reno, we've seen NIL deal after NIL deal be rejected by the Commission on College Sports simply because Reno's media market is smaller than others. It's unfair and it makes it impossible for schools in smaller media markets to compete with schools that happen just to be located in a bigger media market. It's something we must fix. And here in the committee, we can't let the enemy be perfect, be the enemy of the good. And so I supported this bill today. I look at mid-sized schools, and I really praise the chairman and ranking member for their collaboration and cooperation and openness to listening to all of us. Thank you. I yield.
This
you.
bill
Are there
is
any,
going to create
Captain?
less
Thank you,
media
Mr.
money,
Chairman.
not more.
I particularly
If you're
want
going
to
to
thank
take
you,
out
Mr.
platforms
Chairman, and
from
Ranking
bidding
Member
on live
Senator Cantwell.
sports, what a
As she
train
knows
wreck.
very well, she and I led the way
I'll
several
be
years
quiet.
ago for the equal pay for equal play for Team USA for women's sports. And we've seen that flourish, and really the value of our women's sports at that level cannot be understated. Actually, back in the day, I was a Division I athlete myself, and I'm the mother of a Division I athlete. So women's sports are extremely important to me, and I appreciate both of you accepting my Capito 1 amendment, which I think will help us to preserve the current level and status of non-revenue generating sports, particularly women and athletic sports. I also want to thank the universities and colleges in West Virginia, the ADs, the coaches, the conference leaders that have come in and out of all of our offices. But it's important for us to realize what this does for a small state such as mine, where our major college, our university teams are our only teams. And it really is the lifeblood. And I'll point out West Virginia was just in the College World Series and got all the way to the top 4. And I mean that the entire state was electric. So it has more than just an impact across our state and across the nation. You all realize this and have worked really hard to reach the compromise. Thank you so much, and let's keep pushing. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Capito, and thank you for your hard work and leadership on this issue as well. I appreciate working with you. If there are no further comments, that concludes our executive session for today. The committee is adjourned. What? Did you already say it? I already did that. I already got unanimous consent. You can change whatever you want, Brad.
Is that it? Oh, thank God. Woo! Let me get to some very kind super chats before we open up the Holy Smokes Theater. Mowing After Dark, thank you so very much. Super chat, mowing, Buckeye mowing. Wow. Greg is so cold, he isn't shivering. His body is executing a flawless, high-frequency, quick-strike mechanism against the heat of tectonic friction. Again, really don't know what that means, but holy smokes. Woo! Oh, my God! Thank you for the $5 holler. Oh, my God! Mowing After Dark, I appreciate it so very much. We got the purple and gold Christopher Hooter $2 holler, but the SEC and the Big Ten do not support the bill, Ted. Thank you for the $2 holler. Thank you, Christopher Hooter. I very much appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. We've got Eva Badger. This is communism. Thank you for the $2 holler, Eva Badger. I appreciate it. And then Christopher Hooter, super chat. Local broadcasting. They're on radio. How is that supposed to work on TV? Even cable networks, Big Ten Network, SEC Network, ESPN, Fox Sports, etc. Good Lord, no chance. Yeah, we're in trouble, ladies and gentlemen. They are trying to rearrange. They want to create more media money. They think pooling the rights together are going to create more media money. Bob Thompson doesn't think it would work. Bavacqua doesn't think it will work. A whole lot of people don't think, but they believe it would work, so they want to do this. And then at the same time, they want to change where this live content is being distributed. Like, who can even bid on these live? They're trying to take streaming out of it. They're trying to take paywalls out of it. I mean, that sounds good and everything, but that is what is driving up the revenue. Like, they don't understand. Where do you think the $1 billion come from? It's a bidding contest. You cannot drive away. You can't drive out streaming and say, oh, they only get a certain percentage. It's just tomfoolery and skullduggery. That's what all this is. Okay. I have been trying to be truthful on this. All of this bill is to get the government foot in the door. I'm not radical anti-government. I'm not a loony bin, even though I'm sounding like it right now. But I don't want government running this college. Everybody says these are public universities. These are public universities, Greg. These are public universities. The government don't run these public universities. They regulate them. They don't run them. The University of Minnesota is not checking in with the government every decision they make. John Hopkins isn't. Kansas Lawrence. None of these schools are doing that. You want the government to truly schedule our games? Because eventually, that is what this bill does. That's why Sports Capital is funding this. That's why they talk about we can't have private. There was an amendment. I was listening. I'm driving the car. I'm about to drive into this ditch. I'm about to drive into that bridge embankment. The whole time I was listening to this, they had an amendment that would eliminate private equity from any athletic department operations. It's private equity that is funding this bill, you ding-dong. They want in. They want to be able to control all this. The people who are for this bill, they do not want these schools, they don't want anybody making any decisions at all anymore. Marie Cantwell, and again, I apologize if some of you are saying Greg has lost it. I will put in your comments and on the screen, especially if it's a super chat. You can call in. We're going to open up the phone lines. But Maria Cantwell at the beginning of this says the NCAA can't. They have been terrible. They can't run anything. The schools, they can't agree. They can't compromise like me and Cruz did. We disagreed on a bunch of stuff. We drank a bunch of coffee. We got to this point. She's sitting there going, everything's a mess. You asked for our help. Maria Cantwell says, you asked for our help, so we are delivering the help. They're not asked. Nobody asked you for you to run college sports. They asked for an antitrust exemption so the member institutions could run the sport. They want the antitrust exemption so the member institutions can run the sport. And I know Maria Cantwell and Ted Cruz and Amy Klobuchar and every other president, you're not all going to agree on all the decisions that the member institutions decide upon. Of course not. But it is the member institutions that should be accountable. They did not ask for you to run the sport. They did not ask for you for eventually you to do the scheduling. They did not ask for you all to have the antitrust exemption for you to be the this. And again, I love ripping on the Big Ten when I believe they are wrong, and I've done that a few times lately. I love ripping on the SEC, but they are so correct on this. Sorry. When they say this bill is all about introducing government and getting the foot in the door and running everything. Did you hear those senators? They said, I'll offer that amendment later. We can work on that later. We can take control of that later. Oh my gosh. They're freezing Power 4 membership. Too bad UConn. Too bad South Florida. Too bad Boise State. Too bad Memphis. Too bad Tulane. Too bad everybody. We know best. Everything is gonna stay static. We've got control. Nobody can do it. Nobody has free association anymore. And today, when they talked media rights, when they had this beautiful plan to bring in more media money, and at the same time, in the same meeting, they are going to push out, they are going to limit, they are going to engineer the media market. The government is going to engineer them more local TV broadcasting, more local TV, and less streaming. Are you out of your mind? The only thing that creates more value, one of the things that creates more value is innovation. We don't know what the next thing's coming, but Congress sure in the hell doesn't. You're talking about, Maria Cantwell talks about women's rowing. More and more revenue, more and more sports, more revenue, more exposure for the women's sports. I got a question for Maria Cantwell, Senator of Washington. I got a question for Amy Klobuchar, Senator of Minnesota. Do you even know what the Big Ten Network is? I bet you don't. I bet you don't. I have not. I have been sitting here reading all the reports. I have been sitting here covering these live streams. I've been sitting here with you all. I haven't heard the Big Ten Network mentioned one time. What are you going to do with the Big Ten Network, Amy Klobuchar? You know, the network that the University of Minnesota put millions of dollars into, and the $1 million has come back return. Do you know how often the University of Minnesota women's sports are on the Big Ten Network? The access that it provides is behind a paywall. Oh, no. Oh, no. You think you're going to get more money for the Minnesota women's hockey program if you take... It is this... Either this gets defeated, or we're going to have a massive explosion. I mean, I would have loved to have been. I would have loved to been in the room with Bob Thompson when he watched this. I would have loved to have been in the room when Greg Sankey watched this. I would have loved to have been in the room when the president of Georgia watched this. I would have loved to have been in the room. You can't. I don't know what the hell's wrong with Ted Cruz. This is an abomination. They know better than everybody else. They're going to run this thing. You don't think the government wants to run college sports? You really want them to run this thing? I get it. Public universities, regulation. I get it. But that doesn't mean the public universities gives up all their decision making. My God, they want everything to be even and clean. And they're talking about markets west of the Mississippi, east of the Mississippi. Rearrange this, rearrange that. You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. They're going to rearrange the schedule. They're going to rearrange the conferences. They're going to rearrange the divisions. Every part of the sovereignty of these universities are going to be stripped away. Why? Because they asked for antitrust exemption because they're getting ripped apart in the courts. Cruz and Cantwell, I applaud the effort. But why in the heck would the SEC conference not completely break away in the next couple of months? They're talking about incentives? Did you listen to Senator Schmidt from Missouri? He's trying to create an incentive for the Big Ten and the SEC to pool their rights together with everybody else. They're trying to get it, or he said, we'll go from 75% to 70%. So that means the Big 12 and the ACC, if they want to pool their rights together with other schools, they can do so. But he pulled the amendment. Because he know it would not pass, number one. And he knows why it's at 75%, because they want to make this mandatory that they pool all the rights together. But they have this pooling of the media rights in the bill, Section 205, and the senator of Missouri is saying we need to incentivize the Big Ten and the SEC. He talks about a board. You remember when he said that? The board. We got to make sure the board I'm going to be blunt. What he wanted to say, but he danced around it. We got to incentivize the Big Ten and the SEC to do the pooling of the rights. And we've got to make sure we structure the board in their favor. In other words, the board that the government is going to form, that's going to do the media rights negotiations, when we all come together as one, well, to get the Big Ten and the SEC on board, we're going to have to give them more of the memberships. They think they're fixing a problem, then they can see the problems in their fix, and then they got to bring in more fixes to fix the problem that they created because they tried to fix the problem in the first place. Morons. You should have heard me in the car. Badgers so disappointed in my federal reps from Wisconsin. They're going to destroy sports in Wisconsin. Thank you, Eva Badger. Thank you for the $5 holler. Thank you so much for your generosity. Eva Badger, Christopher Hooter, Mohr After Dark, Baldwin. Do they know what the big... It's like... I don't think they understand. Yeah. Tom DeBay, there will be a lot of horse trading on the general floor. I doubt the hard wall for G6 to P4 movement will be in the final bill. I don't know. I mean, you know, should we stop that from happening? Should we stop? I mean, it's like it's just arbitrary. It's control. It's all control. This whole thing is about control. The government wants in, and it ain't going to stop at this if this gets passed. My question, and I want somebody to answer the question. Yeah, no question about it, Kenneth Maynard. The government will take control of this whole thing, because this ain't going to be deemed to be fair. This is going to be more fair. But we're going to bring in more money if we make it more fair, right? We're going to put a wall up on the streaming companies. Like, we're going to engineer this utopian. It's just... I do not know why. Guys, I'm doing the best I can. I know I have failed in being professional today. I apologize. I will apologize later in our second live show later today. I will apologize. I promise you. But right now, I've lost it. I've absolutely lost it. I have no idea. Okay. We need, and I've asked this question, and nobody has an answer so far. Nobody has an answer so far, okay? I do not have an answer. I don't have an answer. And it is the question that needs to be answered. If the Southeastern Conference, I'm just going to use the Southeastern Conference as an example. If the Southeastern Conference is looking at this and they're going, and they take off, and they do the complete split from the NCAA, to answer your question, Rick. Let's say the Southeastern Conference, complete split. Does this bill still affect them? Not affect them at all? Like, how does this bill, if there is a complete breakaway from the NCAA and you are your own private association, there is that in this country, you know, where you and I agree to be associated with each other. Does this bill affect the Southeastern Conference at all? How does it? Can anybody answer that question? I don't know. Because if the bill does not affect a SEC silo, then my God, the SEC is going silo in a hard way. But I don't have the answer to that question. It sounds like Ross Dellinger. I mean, Ross Dellinger, the reporting that is going on, the chatter behind the curtain is like, this is pushing, and I don't know, I think Ted Cruz believes that this bill is going to stop a Super League. But I think it's going to make happen a 2 super conference separation, in which I think the Big 12 and the ACC might follow. I think this bill applies to NCAA members. AD, BMD. We got an incredible, generous gift membership by the incredible, edible Bill G. Wow. Bill G., Mr. Oklahoma State Cowboy, gifted a membership to Azon the Kid, Rock Chalk Jayhawk, Dominic Lewis, Sample Tex, K. Maynor, and the Big Cup. All 5 of you have been gifted a membership. All 5 of you, along with the legendary, incredible, edible Bill G., the incredible generosity of Bill G., all of you are knighted cloak and dagger. Welcome to the college football family. Go to our library of all these episodes, including member-only early peak cloak and dagger episodes. You can watch them all, and when you get an opportunity, please say thank you to Bill G. Unbelievable. Bill G., thank you for your generosity, all your support. We've been on the air for only an hour and 37 minutes. It feels like 3 hours and 37 minutes. Woo! Bill G., thank you so much. I appreciate it, sir. I appreciate it so very much. We're going to open up the phone lines, and I do not know if anyone wants to call Kenneth Maynor. $5 holla. The Pirate Gator Maynor. It doesn't stop the American or the Pac-12 from getting all the top G6 brands and forming a G6 powered conference. You're right. You're right, Kenneth Maynor. Until schools in the MAC conference and other conferences start to complain, and then the government's going to come in and make it so the American cannot expand, can make it to the Pac-12 cannot expand. Thank you, Kenneth Maynor. Thank you for the $5 holler. Appreciate the comment. Appreciate the comment. Here is Bull Fan. Thank you, Kenneth Maynor. Very appropriate comment, if I do say so myself. Bulls fan, I swear, if this ends up with University of South Florida speeding $340 million to build that new stadium to become AAU, all the things that the University of South Florida Bulls are doing, only to say in the G6 because the government says so, Bulls fans going to be pissed. Well, the University of South Florida has to be besides themselves today. Can you imagine? Power, because of the government say so, they're shutting down. This is the permanent Power 4 membership. The walls have been shut down. The doors are locked. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the plans of the University of South Florida. It doesn't matter the investment that the community has put forward. It doesn't matter what research, all the incredible things that the university is doing. It doesn't matter because the government has shut the door down on the Bulls. Nobody should limit the University of South Florida. Nobody. They should have the opportunity to become as valuable as they can. They should make the Big Ten and the SEC think twice, 3 times, 4 times. They should make them feel like schmucks for not bringing in University of South Florida into the conference. University of South Florida should have every opportunity to form its own conference, its own associations. If they become so big, so powerful, so popular, such a great university, to bring in other schools like a Tulane and maybe pick off an ACC, whatever the future holds, and none of us know it. But yet, the static government shut the door down, no innovation, kick the streaming companies out. This I don't know how anybody can watch this and say, yeah. The government, this board that they're talking about, that's just hilarious. The whole, like, I don't know how anybody can support this. Unless you're so upset with how things are, I get it. This is like throwing a mocktail cocktail, burning everything down. I get it. But the government ain't going to build anything that's better. It's not going to build anything that's more valuable. There ain't going to be more money for sports. There ain't going to be more money for athletic departments if you are going to engineer the market. If you're going to say to platforms, certain platforms like Amazon and Netflix and other platforms that come to be, if you're going to say to them, you're not going to be part of the market, or we're going to limit you. How absurd. Not to mention the fact, look, I get it. I'm biased. I'm guilty. Not to mention that this bill basically destroys the Big Ten network. Truly unbelievable. There is no network that has done more for women's sports than the Big Ten network, and they want to destroy it. I don't think Amy Klobuchar knows what the Big Ten network is. I guarantee you she... Oh, boy. We are going to open up the phone lines. I have not heard any... I know they're having a meeting. I have been told that it isn't... it's a perfunctory. It's a process meeting. I have been told there's nothing in there that would be of interest. But if I'm wrong, if the person who told me is wrong, let me know in the comment section. Have not been covering that meeting. That's what I've heard. Okay. We're going to open up the phone lines here because I think, thank you, Kenneth Maynard. Thank you, Bill G. I appreciate your incredible generosity once again. I think people are tired of hearing me talk, and I don't blame you. I do not blame you at all. Ross Dellinger, Senator Maria Cantwell on the anti-expansion change. We made big concessions last night to the Big Ten to make sure that they felt that this was a bill that helped protect their interests for the future. I guess it's a concession, no question about it. Big 12 can expand, the ACC can expand, along with the Big 10 and the SEC. But it doesn't go to the heart of the matter. What the Big Ten is, Big Ten believes that Maria Cantwell is trying to re-engineer government control of college sports. So I would be absolutely shocked if the Big Ten says, thank you, Maria Cantwell, we're for the bill because you did that. There's no way. And again, does Maria Cantwell, what does she believe? Does she believe if they pass this bill, or they're about to pass this bill, or if they do pass the bill, the Big Ten just doesn't completely break away from the NCAA? Does she believe that's a possibility? I don't know. This thing is, phone lines are open. You guys are sick and tired of me talking, and I do not blame you. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. The phone lines are open. MBM $5 holler. We'll get to you in a moment, MBM.
From
Evil Badger.
Evil Badger, can you hold on for a moment, please?
Yes.
We had a very kind super chat from MBM $5 holla. Oh boy. MBM, Greg, this will proliferate fraud, waste, and abuse in smaller, overpaid athletic departments. The NCAA won't be able to regulate anything. No surprise. Yeah, I mean, if this bill passed, the NCAA is completely gone. There is an evil part of me that kind of wants the bill to be passed because people are going to find out real quick that the government ain't going to be able to run this better, and they're not going to be able to produce more value by shrinking the marketplace. I cannot believe that was said in that meeting. I should believe it. Why am I so stupid? Why am I so naive? MBM, thank you for the $5 holler. Very much appreciate your generosity, sir. The Evil Badger, thank you for your patience. The floor is yours.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for taking my call. I can't believe that all these senators are doing Cody Campbell's bidding, because this will totally decrease the amount of money coming to the universities. It will limit how many schools can get on TV again. It's going back to the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Maybe even earlier than that. But now it'll be 54 in a couple weeks. So, yeah. So I know how often or not that Wisconsin was on TV when I was a kid. And I had to watch a replay of it on PBS at night. And now another representative from a state wants to look into repealing the SBA of 61, which would actually, even though it's not about the college game, but the Green Bay Packers said that they repeal the SBA of 61, that it will eventually destroy, and possibly the Packers would have to dissolve and be moved to another city, because Green Bay is the smallest city in pro sports anywhere.
Yeah.
I can't believe all these representatives are believing all this BS about oh, we got to protect this, we got to protect that. It's a bunch of BS.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised about my visceral reaction to this. I thought I'd be more like new. I mean, like I thought I would be able to absorb this more, but just listening to them babble on like that, it is depressing. It is shockingly bad. Look, I'm just going to I'm going to put this up on the board here, Evil Badger. To Protect College Sports Act passes the Senate Commerce Committee 19-9 and now may head to the Senate floor. Notable, 7 Democrats voted for the legislation in committee. 2 Republicans voted against it, including Roger Wicker, Mississippi, and Todd Young, Indiana. So 19-9. If that is replicated throughout the Senate, they're going to get well more than 60 votes. It's just, again, Ryan Willie, we got to have the answer. We got to have this question answered. If the Big Ten and the SEC, if they just completely split away, would this bill affect them? I do not know.
If this bill passes, I'll just say this: college sports will actually be worse and maybe be destroyed because of this bill.
Yeah,
that's my opinion. And please, another issue that I have after the comment, the super chat that I made about the communism.
Yeah,
he's on the kid personally attacked me.
Who?
So he's on the kid.
Okay.
Personally attacked me, so please look into that.
Okay. Alrighty, I will, sir.
All right, thank you.
I apologize. Thank you, sir, very much.
All right, thank you. Thanks for taking my call.
You got it. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
From Rock and Rant.
Rock and Rant, the floor is yours. Rock and Rant, can you hear me? Rock and Rant, can you hear me? Rock and Rant, can you hear me? Teller says the phone doesn't work. Thank you for the $2 holler. Caleb Ramirez, $2 holler. Phone should be working.
Call from Rock and Rant.
Rock and Rant, can you hear me?
Yeah, that was my phone got a call at the same time, and I couldn't unmute myself.
Okay. Okay.
What? No technical difficulties for you.
All right.
No, you're not Greg the Cooler on that one.
Well, I am. But go ahead.
What? I mean, I'm saying, what the hell was that? But it almost didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was the post before about the concession. Nothing else mattered, right? The change to make this applicable to all 4 Power 4 conferences is the only thing that mattered today, and then the vote percentage, right? Because there's 28 members of the Senate Commerce Committee.
Yeah.
And the majority of Democrats, unless not everybody was present there, so I don't want to say that for sure because I think they had 27. No, they had 28 votes, right? So everybody voted, and there's 15 members of the Democratic Party, so the majority of Democrats voted for this, the majority of Republicans. So if you extrapolate that, yes, the Senate would pass it, not guaranteed, and they would pass it by easily past 60. That it goes to roughly 66, 65, something like that. And that vote margin is generally, not always, but generally such, if something could pass the Senate by that much, you have a fairly good chance of getting +1 in the House, right? Especially with the House as close as it is based off the fact that voted more, 50% +1, at least in their own caucus. So if you're the Big Ten, if you're anyone who cares about the future of possible realignment specifically, you should be worried today, in my opinion. And there's a lot of good parts of this bill, but the parts about expansion are not. I mean, listen, if you're a Division II school, Division III, a lot of the G6, I'm sure that it is great. This is almost like the rebellion against the billionaires in a different form. But if any school has aspirations of improving your lot because you want to be competitive at the highest levels of college football, which we know this is largely about that mechanism and how it funds everybody else. If you're Florida State, if you're Clemson, if you're Miami, if you're Utah, if you're Texas Tech, this bill, if it passes, unless I'm reading it wrong, permanently makes you second class because you'll never catch up to the Big Ten and the SEC unless the bill literally winds up forcing everyone to pull media share, which it seems like there's going to be a change in the percentages, even though they didn't initiate that amendment, to maybe lower it down to 70%. We'll see if that's why Senator Schmidt revoked that amendment, because whatever backdoor conversations he had. So I would be very scared. And also the question that you were asking, Greg, and I don't know, so I'm not playing a lawyer on TV, but I did have a little back and forth with Michael McCann online, right, when he responded to one of the McCann sports law guy, when he responded to the provision that Ross Dellinger reported and others about this going down to the ACC. I asked him, how can this Congress, limit 68 universities from freedom of association and also by process guaranteeing schools like Clemson, FSU, as examples, that they can never close the revenue gaps at the highest level that exists with the ACC versus the Big Ten, an example. He said, let's just say that is a problem and invites litigation. He didn't say they can't do it. And so the thing is, and I've been wrong about this, and I might still be wrong, you can't pass a law criminalizing something retroactively and make somebody guilty, but that's not necessarily the same case in civil. So my question is, my biggest question, then I'll shut up, get your response, ask any questions. I still don't know what the definition of super league is that they're talking about here. Is it a super league? Is it a super conference? Is it any combination thereof, from 72 institutions forming a new entity on its own, to the Big Ten and the SEC coming together officially, to the Big Ten and SEC coming together separately, but then in an alliance, or any conference adding one single member? Are those all definitions of Super League, whether it's a super conference or whatever? That I don't know. And I don't know now, and maybe I never knew, is if the Big Ten and the SEC decided to go silo, doesn't matter if this legislation passed, because retroactively the rules would still be imposed on them in some form, preventing them from possibly expanding. And if in 13 minutes from now, Miami and Duke and Clemson and Florida State and Utah all announce that they're intending to go to the Big Ten or the SEC next year or tomorrow, and they're going to pay a gazillion dollars to leave, would this legislation, if it passes, still render that moot?
Yeah, I don't know, Rock and Rant. I don't know the answer to any of those questions. I will say this before you go. I want to tell you that I almost drove my car into the bridge embankment when I heard this. When they're talking about the media rights, they're trying to bring more value to all the schools, more money, right? Right. Sharing the pool, all this. And then they start talking about how they're going to limit streaming platforms from entering the market, right? I tell you, man, I lost it. And I came into the studio and I lost it. You're not going to, if you're going to limit certain platforms from coming into the market to bid on these live sporting events, you're gonna disincentivize the other markets, the other platforms that you're allowing to come in to bid more money. This ain't a charity thing. You're not making more value by re-engineering the market, you dig dogs. Rock and Rant, the whole bill is about driving more so we can save college sports, and yet they're coming in and they're knocking the legs out from all of us because they're going, no. The paywalls, these expensive paywalls. That's life. That's just how it is, man. That's the market. That's people want to see the Miami Hurricanes. All you're doing is ripping apart the Miami Hurricanes value when you're not letting everybody in and bid on the value of the Hurricanes. It's insanity.
It's absolute insanity.
Before you leave, Rock and Rant, thank you everybody who showed me this. Joint statement from the Big Ten and the SEC. From the outset, we identified a set of essential revisions to the PCSA necessary for the long-term sustainability of college athletics. We have worked with both major and minority staff to advance those revisions, which focus on better supporting student athletes and stabilizing the college sports environment. We continue to believe revisions are needed to secure our support for the bill, despite our sustained engagement and good faith efforts. These critical revisions have not been accepted. We are encouraged that several Commerce Committee members share our concerns and support these recommendations. We will continue working with the stakeholders to ensure PCSA delivers meaningful protections for student athletes and lasting stability for college sports. So this does not get the Big Ten and the SEC to support it. Your final words, Rock and Rant.
Yeah, look, I went from, hey, I'm okay with some parts of this, maybe they'll do it. I would even, if they were at least smart enough, Greg, you know what happens with the NFL, right? When there's a game on Amazon, at least if it's on Amazon and you're an LA Rams fan, there's going to be a local network version. Now that's not super great because you could be a Rams fan wherever and you're still getting stuck paying for everything. Yeah. And that same thing would apply. Yes, a lot of Alabama fans who might live in the greater Alabama area, but they're also dispersed everywhere.
Yeah.
You could make it think of, well, Alabama fans, all the alums, they can get access through this code, but that still doesn't solve, like, I grew up in Birmingham and loved Alabama my entire life, didn't get to go to school there, and now I live in Detroit, and now you're still making me pay $1,900 a year to find Alabama on every single streaming platform that this is done. So I get that resistance, but you can't sit there and say, we need to fund the 500,000 athletes worth of college sports, which I get that goal and I understand that goal, and then go, oh, by the way, the essentially the networks of 2026 that are not broadcast.
Yeah.
You can't get a game or two, but we want you then to go back to your other markets and go, pay me more. There's no more there's less supply, so there's more. There's not going to be more demand if you reduce the supply in this specific case, right? It's completely contradictory. And now I'm pissed because I get everyone who's mad about the fallout of sports, but this bill, the way it's currently gone, if it gets improved, basically means I, as a fan of a school that is aspiring to play in the highest level of sport that I care about the most, has to hope that our billionaire benefactors, in a world where we just saw the fallout of like a billionaire benefactor gone rogue in Texas Tech, that they are okay, potentially forever, subsidizing a program, not just for NIL and playing athletes and all that other stuff, but the media gap, or they must be super confident, Greg, that one way or the other, they're going to force the entire entity of Division I FBS to pull their media rights, because and I don't necessarily know that they're wrong, that everyone, that even Ohio State's floor would go, they would go up higher, and everybody else's floor would go up higher, and the gap would be reduced. But if they don't do that, they're locking in a permanent lower class of people who are theoretically aspiring to play the exact same sport, as opposed to like a choice of not being able to, or not desiring to fund your sport fully to compete at a certain level, right? There's a whole other level of this. And what this proposed, and now I'm literally officially nervous because of what that vote was in the Senate, even after the objections, because now I think there's a chance it passes the House. Yeah. If it gets to the floor of the Senate and goes through, I think there's a chance. And I think that yesterday, and when Miami's president went on,
Yeah.
that clearly was a sign that there was a fear in some quarters to try to put out a signal of, we think this might pass, in which case action might have to happen sooner. Action that could get theoretically rendered moot by this law, and we'll see you in court to fight these parts of the law, especially on freedom of association. That's my final thought.
Yeah. All right. I appreciate it, sir. Thanks for the call.
All right. Be good. Keep your blood pressure down.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not going down anytime soon.
From
Benjamin.
Benjamin, the floor is yours. How you doing, sir?
Good. How about you?
I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging in there.
Well, I'm pretty new to the show, so
I appreciate you coming on in.
Yeah. So I've only heard a few episodes, but and I don't know the definitions you mean when you say things like breakaway or silos. I think I understand, right? And you said it's different from a super league and so forth and so on. But
yeah.
So here's my my basic question to you. Well, I would say like this: I'm a Gophers fan and Arizona State Sun Devil fan.
Beautiful.
And, well, but so for the last before I used to just enjoy football. Hope my Sun Devils have a big year sometimes. Maybe the Gophers can have a good year.
Yeah.
And that's my impression of most college football fans. And it's not just college football. We have like what 200 college basketball teams too, men's college basketball.
Yeah.
And so I'm ready to quit on the sport because I'm sick and tired of hearing media, Greg Sankey, and Big Ten people, SEC people, fans on social media. I know social media is not, people can mess around there and they're just trolling sometimes, but there's a huge amount of people in administrative positions, in media, and fans that just are constantly basically threatening to break away and, Big 12 sucks and all your teams suck. And I don't think that they're going to keep Rutgers around and Mississippi State and Kentucky, football programs around and Gophers and things like that. Or Penn State in basketball, those lower level Big Ten teams, SEC. Why do people think that? I'm so sick of the arrogance coming from the fans and the media, like I said, that makes it sound like we can just break away. We can have, 40, 50 teams and everybody else doesn't matter and we don't need to be involved with them anymore. And how do you think that's going to help the sport? How is that going to make – you don't think to the people that we don't need you because we're the SEC and we're big programs and we're blue bloods and whatever. How is this work going to continue to progress in 5-10 years if they've told, I don't know, 100 fan bases, hey, you guys suck, you're not important, you don't matter, we don't need you. How's that going to work?
Well, I can only tell you from my perspective, I love all college football. We cover the Big 12, we cover the ACC, we cover the Big 10, we cover the SEC. We cover it all here at Peek Around the Corner. We're going to try to cover the G6 more. We do more watch parties than any other college football YouTube channel out there during the season. We cover it all. And I can completely understand why people are sick and tired of all the threats. I get all that as well. I do think you have to look at it. I would suggest you look at it from the SEC and Big Ten perspective in this. They don't want their sovereignty stripped away. They do not want their ability to make decisions stripped away and be given to the government. Because there have been decisions that have been made that were incredibly risky. Some did not work out, some did work, some worked out greatly, and suddenly that's all gets taken away because of the government. That is why people are pissed right now, and I'm included in that. So that is one big component that is different than all the other threats and all the other things. But I understand the frustration. Look, as a Gopher fan, you're a Gopher fan, Sun Devil fan, I'm a Gopher fan. You know what? The Buckeyes, the Ohio State Buckeyes, They make $150 million more than the University of Minnesota, the athletic department, right? 5 years from now, they're going to make $250 million more than us, no matter what the government does. But what are we going to do? Are we going to go into the Ohio State Buckeyes coffers and say it's unfair and we're going to take $100 million and distribute it to the rest of us? Exactly how far does this go? Exactly how far does this, let's make everything fair, how far does it go? I don't know if you listened to the Senate hearing this morning. We live streamed it, but they're talking. If that made you feel more confident that this is the way to go, God bless you. We're going to just have to agree to disagree.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that this is the solution. The bill. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm asking you. And I don't believe in government control. I'm not that guy at all. But I'm saying, how do you think it's going to survive? You bring up Ohio State and teams like that. I mean, I just started thinking about Alabama is Clay Travis put out a report. We can say he's full of crap. I don't know. But he put out a report yesterday that Alabama is broke was the headline. And they were talking about it. And so, I mean, even like ASU with Kenny Dillingham, they've been getting more money, and I'm excited. That's good. You know, they have a chance to compete. But what if, even if my team does good, I hope they make the new conference, the new whatever 50 teams. What about the rest of the sport? I mean, how's that going to put the bill aside, put the government control aside? How is the sport going to? Because again, it's not just football. Basketball is important too. Basketball makes money. The tournament's important. That's a lot of schools. So what do they do if Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, whatever, your top tier teams are the only ones left in 10 years? You think the sport's going to survive like that with 30, 40 teams? How's that going to work?
Okay, well, first of all, I don't think there can be a 50-team Super League, a 42-team Super League, because they're not going to have antitrust violation protections because they own the market power. They're not going to be any more effective than the NCAA is right now. But a solo conference, hold on, but a solo conference probably, according to the Ivy League ruling in the Alston case, the judges have been saying conferences, you have the ability to make your own rules and govern by yourself because you do not have the market power. The student athlete has choices that they can make. They do not have to join your conference. That's number one. So I don't believe in this 50-team Super League. I think that's all fear. I think that's what's driving people to support this bill, and I think it's a false premise. The other part is, what if Ohio State leaves the Big Ten, right? What does that do to Minnesota, correct? That's your question? We can use that example, right? We can use that example.
Okay.
What if the Buckeyes in Michigan and Penn State, USC, Oregon, along with Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Auburn, Florida, the top teams in both Big Ten and ACC, they leave and they have their own 16 to 20 team conference, right? Yep. That would hurt. Yep. That would hurt Minnesota, right?
Yes.
My answer to that is, I would. It would hurt. I'd be sad, but I'm not going to take away the Ohio State University, Michigan, Alabama, Georgia. I do not want to take away their freedom of association. Why? What are we? We can't sit here and lock all these schools in with each other just because we want to make things like mandatory and fair. The Buckeyes have been associated with Minnesota since Minnesota voted them in, sponsored them into the Big Ten in 1919. Since 1919, the Buckeyes have had the freedom to go in a different direction. And they should today, they should tomorrow, they should 10 years from now. That is my take on it. I do not want this engineered, static college sports because It's going to take away innovation. That takes away value. That takes away money. I am scared as hell of this bill passing because I think it drives away all of what I just said. Go ahead.
Can I just say to you? I mean, I know what you're saying, but what about NFL, NBA? Are they not? They have salary caps. It's help them. Like I'm in Arizona, and the Cardinals forever were horrible, and now they're not doing great again. But when the owner was kind of forced to spend more money, they had a Super Bowl season, and they had made some playoff teams. In the 80s and 90s, they didn't spend money, and New York Giants might spend way more money than them until they have the salary cap. And so other sports have a salary cap.
Yeah.
What's so horrible about college having some type of cap?
I think it's not horrible. In fact, sir, the very first episode I ever did on this channel, I talked about a collective bargaining, to get to a collective bargaining agreement. That is my manifesto. I'm all for that. However, it is, and I have learned since that it is way more complicated than I ever imagined, because we got all these different schools, all different levels, all different regions of the conference. We got all different state laws. We got public universities. We got private universities. We've got Title IX. We got revenue-making sports. We got non-revenue-making sports. So if you want a CBA to happen, which I do, it's got to be within one conference and in one sport. So if you want to have a CBA for SEC football players, it's got to be a CBA, SEC for the football players, a different CBA for the SEC basketball players, a different CBA for ACC football players, ACC basketball players. Because you want to have the labor be truly represented by the value that they bring in. And to be honest, the SEC football players bring more value into the schools than Conference USA, than the MAC, than the ACC. So we can have a CBA, but it can't be this ultra CBA for everybody under the roof, which this government is trying to engineer in their own way. It's just not going to work. I'll let you have the last word.
Okay, for my last word to you, and then I'll hang up, is I'll leave with a question, I guess. It would be, well, two things. One is, I think part of this, people are upset because they see a clear bias. Even if you say SEC is better and all that stuff, I mean, ESPN and SEC are linked together, and they choose the playoff teams. I mean, that's crazy. And then, so that's part of the blowback, I think, of whatever bill is put out there. Yeah, we got to do something. That's how people think. And the last question for you as I leave is, I appreciate you taking my call, is that, do you think, put the bill aside, whatever, if they do nothing, the sport will survive if you have a type of breakaway where, even he says it can't happen, they're threatening it. If there's a breakaway where you have just, like I said, those 40, 50 teams, 60 teams, whatever, and the rest are left in the cold, do you think the rest of the country is going to watch them as years go by when they're not, they know their school that they invested in, stuff that they graduated from, their alumni, whatever? Are they going to watch? Will they be like, and I don't want to use the bad word, but like cuck behavior where they're like, oh, well, I know my team didn't make it, and we're not around anymore, and we folded. Hey, let me watch the Bulldogs from Georgia. I mean, will the sport survive that way? I don't think it will.
Well, there's a lot of fans that do that already. Unfortunately, I'm not one of them, but I can tell you, doing this for 4 years, I got a lot of comments in the chat room that people say, I only watch Big Ten, I only watch SEC, I only watch Big 12, I only watch ACC. So we already have that. Number two, again, I don't think there is a possibility of a 50-team Super League, because they're just going to get run over like the NCAA. I think it's going to, look, the breakaway, the stuff that you are tired of hearing about, I keep saying it's dangerous, it's uncharted waters, it may not work, but what are the other options? This is ungovernable. The courts are chewing up and spitting out the NCAA. The conferences and schools are not able to get an antitrust exemption because the Congress took that request and they're putting out this abomination. So the only way that they can do any governance, any rules, any enforcement, if they go their own silo, it's a breakaway. It's dangerous. But I keep asking the question. Nobody can come up with an answer. What is the option? Right now, there are no other options. And that's why they're probably going to do it, in my opinion. But I thank you for the call, sir. I appreciate it.
All right.
Call
Thank you.
again, sir. Beautiful call.
From
Mohr Simmons.
Mohr Simmons, can you hold on for just 1 second, please?
Yes.
I do appreciate it. Thank you to Caleb Ramirez. Caleb Ramirez for sending me this. Darren Heitner, the founder of Heitner Legal, focusing on sports, entertainment, intellectual property, business law, teaches NIL at Miami Law. He's an agent for some of these players, been the lawyer for some of these student athletes. This is his comment. Now, we've been asking the question, as Mohr Simmons knows, and everybody in the chat room knows, we've been asking the question, if the Big Ten and the SEC completely break away from the NCAA, what does that do with this bill if it passes? Does it protect them from this bill if it passes? I don't have an answer. I don't see anybody really commenting on that detail of it. But Darren Heitner, this lawyer, agent, he made a comment on this, and thank you to Caleb Ramirez for sending me this. This is what he said. Wonder what people will think of the Protect the Big 12 Act, Protect College Sports Act, if and when the SEC and the Big Ten break away and create their own rules. Josh says the SEC and the Big Ten will be prevented from breaking away by Congress. Darren Heitner says that's well beyond Congress's power. And then someone says, let them go. Let's see how that goes. And Darren Heitner says it will get worse for the other conferences. So, and then there's more to this, but so Darren Heitner is saying that the Big Ten and the SEC, if they break away, this bill cannot touch them, won't touch them. Go ahead, Mohr Simmons. The floor is yours.
Hey, Greg. I am extremely upset with what I watch from our politicians. We voted for these people, and it seems like they lack common sense. And I'm gonna tell you why. I understand what they're trying to accomplish, but I don't think you just did. You're going to water down the money that will be coming into college football. You're doing more damage than you helping college football. That's one. And also, what about the schools that took legal action? Florida State, Clemson. we spent money to get out of this conference, out of the ACC. Now we got politicians in Washington telling us, well, that's okay. You fought a good fight, but you're gonna be stuck in the ACC. That don't sit well with us. I can say us because we was the Florida State and Clemson. We was the one who ponying up the money to take on the ACC while everybody in the conference sat back. Now, one thing I can say is this: this only thing this if this bill passed and Big Ten and SEC sit back, well, you just waiting for a slow death rolling your way. Basically, because your hands gonna be tied. I prefer for them to come on out and just say, okay, look, this is how it's gonna be. Take us to court, whatever you're gonna do. Cody and Ted Cruz, whoever, and let the chips fall where they fall. You got to understand. I said this once before on your show, Greg. There's only limited seats on this train. Not everybody have a seat on this train. And there's big brands and there's money outside of college football that's trying to get in. Now, you touched on something where you said that Cody Campbell and I think there was private equity on the outside with Cody Campbell or something you said about that. True enough, they're trying to get in one way or the other. Cody is already plotting how he can move Texas Tech in wherever this is going. My point is this. Only thing this bill did is going to push the big brands, going to have to take a hard look at, I don't care if you're already in the P2, you're going to take a hard look at what's out there, because if private equity come up with the money and go to each individual school and they get out, they jump out, it hurts everybody. In the Big Ten, SEC, I'll put it like this. Florida State, I can't speak for Florida State. Let me take that. But I would say this. There's no way in hell we're going to sit here in the ACC and rot on the vine. We're not going to do that. Now, there was in our agreement that we can get out and we could create our own football entity and leave our sports in the ACC. Well, we might have to take a deep, hard look at that with private equity and create our own league, because this is where they're pushing us. Because if you say Florida State, Clemson, y'all jump out, Miami come along with y'all in this, North Carolina, whoever, and if we get teams out of the other conferences, we already got our own super league that way. And also, that was a court-ordered settlement that we already signed off on. So my thing, I'm hot because you have a booster from Texas Tech that felt some kind of way that his school was going to be left behind and created this whole mess. When you don't know how the chips was going to, how everything was going to fall out. I can't believe it. I'm at this point, Big Ten, SEC, the big brands in the ACC should just go ahead and make the move, realignment, silo, and let's go to court. Let's whatever we got to do. What we got to lose, because right now you already see how this is going, how they voting on this. You might as well jump out here and take it on. And that's the only thing I'm saying, Greg.
Yeah.
Sure, but I'm just disappointed in, especially Amy Klobuchar, because I thought she would support Minnesota at least. I'm just disappointed in that. Ted Cruz gonna be Ted Cruz. He's that's just a clown.
Yeah.
All right.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Amy Klobuchar. Great call, Mr. Simmons. Joe Long. By the way, Joe, I happen to see you said you're going to answer my question. Joe, I'm not able to read all the comments. So if you really, really, really want me to make sure I answer a question to the best of my ability, a super chat or give us a call. I'm not able to get to all. I mean, we're pretty busy here, but I'll get to your question right here. I appreciate you commenting. Hold on.
Call from
Rick?
Rick, can you hold on for just one moment, please?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Joe Long says, Greg, if the CBA is different from conference to conference, how will the conference determine which conference CBA should prevail? Well, they would all have their own CBA. That's the point. I don't know how. If you're going to have, if somehow, some way, there is representation for SEC football players, they cannot have the same representation that other conferences have, because the value of that labor is worth more to the values of that school in that conference than the value of the labor of the ACC is to their school, because the SEC makes more money. You can't, if you're going to have true representation of labor, the best representation that they can have, it can't be nationwide, because then you're screwing some labor out of their true representation, in my opinion. Besides the fact, there ain't no way no CBA is going to work for the whole country. It's way too complicated. We can't even handle the littlest things in college sports. Anyways, that's my comment on it. Go ahead, Rick. The floor is yours.
Oh, what a great call by Morris. That was
yeah.
I could feel the passion in his phone call.
Well, and he's like, Florida State goes to court. So they and Clemson, they both go to court so they can have the opportunity to talk to other conferences. Nothing is secured. Nothing was guaranteed. They risk money. They risk reputation. They risk a bad outcome. They won in the court, and now suddenly it's like, you don't really have any ability to talk to anybody else because it's going to be static from here on in. Sorry to interrupt you, Rick. Go ahead.
That's it. No, they bought their freedom, and now it's being taken away from them.
Yeah.
Yeah. La cucaracha. Right? We've opened the door, the front door, and let the congressional cockroaches in. You can't. Nothing good ever comes from that. Mm-hmm. And you definitely hit on the key word, 30 or 45 minutes ago. The key word being control. And they want control. They, the government, and this bill wants total control. And if it passes and they get it, they're not surrendering anything control-wise. They're going to take more, because that's the way those boys and girls in Congress work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's... So
there'll be a breakaway. You can't be the SEC and the Big Ten and allow this to occur. And then the other thing that's really important to remember, and don't ever forget this, primarily I watch NFL. What's the NFL's position on this bill?
Oh, I think they want government control. I think they've sent out a... They've sent out a...
do.
Go ahead.
And the reason they do is, remember what you were saying about, all these paywalls that we're not going to be able to use. Well, guess who wants to use all those paywalls? Guess who likes those paywalls that college football isn't going to use? You may be watching the Gophers and the Badgers play for the Axe on PBS.
Yeah.
But any NFL game you want to see is going to be behind a paywall.
Yeah, Yeah, you're right. With this, I almost died today, Rick. I could still pass away today. I think there's about a 40% chance I pass away today. But I almost drove the car into the bridge embankment when I heard the senators talking about limiting the platforms that could show college sports. It is, and at the same time they want to raise the revenue of the media rights. It is. It almost took me over the. I almost went over the cliff.
Yeah, they're not killing the golden goose, but they're not allowing college football at the golden goose, and they're sending the golden goose over to the NFL for more golden eggs.
They're strangling the golden goose. They won't let the golden goose innovate.
Correct.
And they think this is how to do it. It's just.
Hey, thanks for a great show.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And, take a look at this. Amendments are being finalized to the Protect College Sports Act. This is 4 minutes ago by Ross Dellinger. A notable one from Senator Ben Lay Lujan, New Mexico, that applies to departments. This is.
Call from
Christopher Hooter.
Christopher Hooter, can you hold on for just one moment, please?
Sure. Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. Amendments are being finalized to the Protect College Sports Act. A notable one is from Senator Ben Ray Lujan, a Democrat from New Mexico, that applies to departments generating $80 million in revenue. It requires schools to use only athletic revenue and donations to compensate coaches earning at least $500,000. You see, look, it was obvious a few months ago. It cannot be. I'm going to try to calm down here. Okay, I'm going to try to relax. Christopher Hooter wants to get in. I'm not going to try to stroke out here, but it cannot be overstated enough, or whatever, both. This bill is just the start. This bill is going to control athletic departments, where they spend their money. Look, I'm not happy. I'm not happy about where all the money. But this is about government control. Like all these regulations, like it's going to strangle this thing. If a coach makes this much money, if we're going to put this TV over here, this distribution over there. This is crazy. This is insanity. Do you know how difficult it is? Do you know how difficult it is I'll just take Christopher Hooter's SEC. Do you know how difficult it is to manage, to govern a 16-team SEC? The teams want this TV spot. The teams want that TV spot. LSU's not happy about that. Georgia's not happy about that. We're not happy that we have to play 2 road games in a row. We're not happy with having to go from 8 conference games to 9 conference. But you know what? They try to figure out. They get it figured out. Some things are not fair in life. Some things are not fair in life. It's not fair that LSU makes so much more in ticket sales than Mississippi State. It's not fair that Mississippi State has a great baseball program and some teams up north don't. But that's the way it is, ladies and gentlemen. And you cannot legislate all this fairness it's just going to wreck it. It's going to destroy it. And this bill it's the beginning of the foot in the door. It is so obvious what's going on. Don't let, and I'm not this anti-government crazy loony bin. I'm not. But this is outrageous. And the more you read about it, the worse it gets, and it's only going to get worse. Christopher Hooter, the floor is yours.
Hey, I'm with you, buddy. You know, when I was so watching the streaming there, and the senator that proposed the amendment or whatever had the idea that we need to put it all on broadcast TV. And then everybody needs more money, as you have adequately said, right? You know, I mean, can they not add? And if they're that incompetent on an issue they've been studying for months, what makes me think if there's a committee on national defense or national security or something that, you know, kind of matters more? Or are they any more competent there? So I ain't happy with any of this, and I'm extrapolating it now, but not beyond college sports. You know? So I don't have faith in the system at all anymore.
I'm more rejected than ever. I don't know what to say. People are getting upset with me. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I can't. And you know what? I'm not even worried anymore about eating the double cheeseburger with 2 types of cheese if this sucker passes. I'm not even worried about that. I mean, you know, I'm probably that thing will probably end it for me, just eating that burger. But I'll probably meet my maker before I have to eat that double cheeseburger. The way things are going, I'm not worried about the double cheeseburger. I'm worried about this is just the taste of all this. The bill has it in where the government can relook at the structure of this whole thing. This is insanity. I don't know how anybody can be. There is this evil part of me that wants the bill to pass so it can absolutely destroy everything. But I don't want that. And you know, I don't want that. This is terrible. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, sorry for the rant, but I'm with you. I got to go take my blood pressure meds too.
Got it.
You know, I don't know. They got to break away. They got no choice. I mean, hey, all that nonsense we heard today, dude, it's DEFCON 5. It's time.
Yeah,
I bet the Georgia president's on the phone right now.
All right, I appreciate it, sir.
Anyway, buddy. All right, talk to you. Yeah, bye.
Call from
Moen.
Moen, can you hold on for just 1 second, please?
Sure.
I've absolutely lost it here. Ross Dellinger, and I appreciate Rock and Rant for letting me know that this has come through. Ted Cruz, I believe this bill is going to pass. His objective is to get the Protect College Sports Act signed and passed into law before the school year, and he believes that timeline is doable. Moen After Dark, I appreciate you calling. You're probably going to have to hold my hand to get me through the rest of this program. But did you see what Darren Heitner said?
I did not.
He said something to the effect of, hold on a second here. Let me show it up. Let me show you. I'm going to put it up on the screen again. Darren Heitner says, wonder what the people will think of the Protect the Big 12 Act, Protect the College Sports Act, if and when the SEC and the Big 10 break away and create their own rules. Someone says, the SEC and the Big Ten will be prevented from breaking away by Congress. Oh, shoot. Hold on. I screwed that up. Darren Heitner says, so Josh says the SEC and the Big Ten will be prevented from breaking away by Congress. And Darren Heitner says that's well beyond Congress's power. So it sounds like Darren Heitner is saying that if the Big Ten and the SEC break away, they will not be affected by this bill. I don't know. Go ahead, sir. The floor is yours.
Well, do you know the origin of the word politics, Greg?
Well, I used to because I am a political science major. Pre-law, for those who cannot believe it, because I'm such a moron. I went to the great academic institution of St. Cloud State University. Politics, realpolitik. I don't remember. Go ahead, sir.
Well, it comes from the Greek. Poly means many, and ticks are blood-sucking parasites. And that's exactly what we saw today. A bunch of blood-sucking parasites wanting to control college sports and basically have their way. From Maria Cantwell's first message that they were accommodating the Big Ten, they pretty much shot everybody in the foot today. Now everybody has to figure out what they're doing for realignment and expansion.
Yeah.
Everybody. Yet Tulane, USF, Memphis. Remember, Memphis was going to offer the Big 12 $250 million. What's that number today? That number's got to go up. You know, if you're the ACC and you think schools might leave, how are you going to backfill? How do you backfill? If this gets passed into law, how do you backfill if Miami, Duke, Georgia Tech, Florida State, Clemson, all these, you lose 6 to 8 schools. How do you backfill?
Yeah.
You can't. You're locked in and prevented from it. So if you're the Big 12 and you're saying, well, we really want Louisville and Pitt, do you make a press at them now and say, look, got to get on board now, can't wait?
We got a $5 holler. Thank you, Teller 580. I appreciate it. Hope you all break away and the sport ends. All the arrogant fans and media deserve it. We've got A's on the kids saying, people, thank you so much, Teller 580. I appreciate it. Even though we disagreed, I appreciate you being in the chat. Thank you for your generosity. I appreciate it. A's on the kids says, people say it's beyond Congress's power, but Congress can do whatever they want. They could choose to split the Big Ten and the SEC into 3 conferences if they wanted to. I got to tell you, man, A's on the kid, I love you, but you want Congress to be able to go into these private associations and just rip them apart whenever they want? We're not, this goes well beyond college sports. There's private associations, nonprofit, private, they're all over the country. I mean, literally, you want Congress to be running, you want Congress, A's on the kid, just to be able to say, well, we'll take that incredible Kansas Jayhawk men's basketball value and we'll dump it into that pathetic Minnesota basketball value. Would you want that to happen? I get it. People are frustrated. People are unhappy. But this is about Congress running everything in college sports. And I get it. We're all on different parts of the political spectrum. Some people believe in Congress, in national governments more than others. Some of us want state governments to be more powerful. Some of us are a little bit of here, a little bit of there. But if you watch the Senate hearing and you think that they're going to be able to create more revenue, media revenue, by congressional decree in saying that they do not want paywalls. They do not want, they want to limit streaming companies in the bidding and to getting these live sports events. And you think that's going to drive up revenue for Kansas Jayhawk basketball and everyone else? I don't know. Look, I don't know. I'm trying to be polite here, but this
you're not gonna drive up prices by eliminating competition.
You're not going to drive up value. It's insanity. Right. It's insanity. But yet they talked about it in this Senate hearing. It goes against every economic. But this is what happens when you got the Congress trying to run something that is outside of their core. This is bat bleep. This makes no sense. And people who are a lot more intelligent than I am, and basically everybody is, they're sitting there. You don't want to break, like there's people, like, I don't know, for those who want to break away, for those who want to say, we're gone, we're out of here, bye-bye everybody, I don't know a better environment for them to win their cause than today. All you're doing them, you're giving them the gasoline, you're giving them the match, you're giving them whatever they need to strike the match, you're giving them all the oxygen in the world for that fire to grow and grow and grow because of this Senate hearing. Mohr, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just bring up Congress has the power, but, there's a thing we have in this country called checks and balances. And the judicial system can rule something unconstitutional, which this would be unconstitutional. Under the First Amendment, you have the right of free association. The Supreme Court's ruled multiple times in favor of expressive association, which allows you to discriminate against people who you allow in and who you allow out of a select club based on criteria. So, I mean, the Big Ten and the SEC, they're no different. They're private, nonprofits, and they can choose who they let in and who they don't let in.
And they can make decisions on,
Yeah,
do you know how many decisions that the University of Ohio State makes during when it comes to the research? Big money decisions. Bigger money decisions than their athletic department. Do you want the government to come in and make decisions on the Ohio State University research, University of Minnesota research, University of Kansas research? How much government do you want to control all of this?
Greg, I think at some point, a lot of people are, it's like the expression, cut off your nose to spite your face. I think a lot of people have painted the Big Ten and the SEC as the ultimate enemy, and they want to see bad things happen to the Big Ten and the SEC. And I think in doing so, you've cut off your nose to spite your face, because now the Big 12 and the ACC got to figure things out, because they're going to be limited from expansion too. They think they were doing the Big Ten a big favor, the SEC a big favor, getting rid of a talking point for them. No, you just made the problem worse. You're absolutely right. They started a fire, threw gasoline on it, opened up the oxygen tanks, dropped napalm, and then they're going to stand around after everybody's burnt and go, we should have done something about this fire. You started the fire. You did it. And I completely understand where other fan bases are coming from. I get it. If you're a Kansas fan in the Big 12 and you see the Big 10 making all this money, I get it. You don't like it. You don't think it's fair. But that's the way free market works. We don't. I I don't think it's fair that Kansas pays Bill Self so much money. But I'm not going to say that we need to enact a law in Congress to make sure Bill Self doesn't make as much money as Bill Self possibly can. That's his right. This is just, to me, I mean, it comes down to freedom. Freedom, liberty, sovereignty. What are we even doing anymore? we're just basically saying people, the Big Ten Conference isn't smart enough to make its own decisions. Really? Because the Big Ten Conference has been around for 130 years and has the most valuable media rights contract in history. How can you tell them they don't know what they're doing?
And what about the unintended consequences of something like this? Can you imagine the federal government doing this sort of thing where everything's static, there cannot be any conference movement, decisions out from the conference? Before the Big East Basketball Conference was formed, the Big East, I'm old enough to remember this. The Big East Basketball came out of nowhere. Now, they've always been there, but the value of Big East Basketball shot upward in the 1980s. They were able to get a new media contract. They were nothing compared to the ACC back in the 70s. And then suddenly, what happened? Georgetown, Seton Hall, St. John's, and all those basketball players in the exposure and the fans and the small gymnasium. It was beautiful on TV. Big East basketball today is why they are where they are today is because of what happened in the 1980s. You cannot stop that innovation. We do not know what's going to happen next. The Big Ten could fracture. The SEC could fracture. We do not know. The Big 12 could go on a 10-year run in football because they might be able to get great quarterbacks, great coaches. We don't know what the next wave is. So the government's going to come in and say, oh, everybody hold on, stop. And we're going to engineer the media market. We're going to say no to streaming. We're going to say no to the new innovation of delivering live college sports. The whole thing is absurd. And I guarantee, I would bet you I'll bet you a cheeseburger to a donut that Amy Klobuchar does not know what the Big Ten Network is. And you want her to run this thing? I got to tell you, I am besides myself on this. Mohan, go ahead.
Well, if you're giving the donuts and cheeseburgers away, I'm more than happy to take them for you.
Well,
Greg,
I got the donuts. You get the cheeseburgers.
My Senator Bernie Moreno had made a statement that he was not going to vote for this, and he voted for it. So, I mean, it's like these guys, they run on preaching liberty and freedom, and it's liberty and freedom for a few, but if you're not on the inside with them, this, again, I hate to bring his name up, but this has Cody Campbell's fingerprints all over it. This is Cody Campbell saying, would you like $2 million in dark money to your next reelection campaign? Oh, sure, I'd love that. And then when I do my reelection campaign, I'll get up there and lie about how I'm for freedom and sovereignty and liberty. And I'll just tell people to ignore this vote where I basically stripped it away from the two most successful conferences in college athletics.
The number one question we need answered is, what is the effect of a complete breakaway from the NCAA? What is the effect of this congressional bill passing? Does it have the effect on the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, ACC, whoever completely breaks away from the NCAA? Does it still affect the Big Ten and the SEC? I don't know. It sounds like Darren Heitner doesn't think it does, but he's just one voice. That's the question that we need answered.
Well, and I think also, too, Greg, you have to look at it from the Big 12's perspective. Do they want to stay a part of the NCAA without the Big Ten and the SEC? Maybe they want to come along. Maybe they want to join up and be number 3 in the silo leagues and come up with some kind of joint governance model, because, you know, this just sealed the fate of about 6 ACC schools in a single day.
Yeah. Amanda Krisovich just put up here, new 10 pro sports unions issued a strong critique of the new college sports bill. We oppose this bill. Previously, the NFL and NBA player unions released a statement more favorable to the bill. Now they sign into sharp criticism. So now they do not like it. I'm trying to read why that is. The bill limits athlete compensation without any negotiations or collective bargaining. It doesn't go far enough to preserve Title IX. So now the unions are against it. So I don't know how. Oh boy!
I think the unions were always against it, Greg. I think you're confusing the unions with the actual organizations. The NFLPA, I think, has always been opposed to it, whereas the NFL Owners Association has been in favor of it. So and figure this one out. The NFL comes out in favor of this shortly before congressional hearings about them for antitrust exemption under the Sports Broadcasting Act. And now suddenly they're for this bill. They've got their own mess to clean up. So, same thing with the NBA. They got their own mess to clean up.
Here we go. Moen.
Yeah.
Are you on the line?
I'm here.
Okay, here we go. We've got breaking news, and nobody. Oh, nowhere. Pete Thamel, ESPN. One of the biggest concerns from the Big Ten SEC in the current Protect College Sports Act is that private equity or any third party can still poach members. While the current bill says the power leagues, when the Big 12 hits $700 million in the revenue, will join the other 3, will be frozen in place. Said a P2 athletic director. The bill notably and obviously sports capital. The bill notably and obviously and seemingly intentionally allows schools from those leagues to leave to create a PE finance super league, which was always the threat. That threat is even more viable now that existing leagues have been frozen in place by this proposal. Oh my God. Moen? Absolutely correct.
Yeah.
This does not stop Sports Capital and Cody Campbell and Captain Jack Swabrick. Let's go.
Yeah, and still Notre Dame is fighting for a way to remain independent. And if I'm the Big Ten, if I'm the SEC, I'm just issuing invitations. Convene a board meeting of the president, say, here's the schools on the table. Let's get an up or down vote, and we'll issue them invitations for a future date. And they can formally accept those invitations. And if this law passed, they're grandfathered in. And there's nothing they can do about it, and we're going to split away and be a super conference of 24 teams, a super conference of 20 teams, a super conference of 22 teams, whatever you want to do. But I think the Big Ten, unfortunately, as a way to retaliate against Notre Dame, I think the Big Ten and the SEC will have to target the ACC. I think they're going to have to be super aggressive with the ACC in the next 6 weeks.
This is unbelievable. That said it all right there. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about Pete Thamel's reporting on that? This does not stop a Super League. Oh my gosh. A Super League can get created by private equity. They've been trying to get this done. Cody Campbell's been trying to get this done with Smash Capital. They want, like Paul Feinbaum said, they want to control all the scheduling. They want to control the Super League. Come on, wake up. Wake up. This is Cody Campbell control. This is his dream. And we're this close from happening. DEFCON 000. Hey, Moen, if I stroke out today, which there's a really good chance of that happening, I want you to have a special episode, live show, the funeral of Greg the Gold, and there cannot be any Greg the Cooler jokes. It only can be Greg the Gold jokes. Does everybody understand?
You want us to live stream from your open casket?
There will not. There's not a casket big enough for me. I'm going to have to be cremated in one of those Supermax facilities. Yeah, I want you guys to be nice. I want you to only be jokes about Greg the Gold. I don't care if you have to lie. You just lie. You get it done. And that is how it's going to happen.
Oh, if I lied and got it done, that would make me a member of Congress, Greg.
This is so
I certainly wouldn't want that.
Quick strike. Tumasis's quick strike is on the table.
It has to be.
It has to be. It has to be because the private equity is knocking on the door. The Buckeyes do not want. The Buckeyes want to play with Big Ten schools. They don't want this. Georgia doesn't want this.
Yeah, it's almost like it's, they've installed the missiles on Cuba. They got past the embargo. They've installed the missiles on Cuba.
Yeah.
And now they're just daring them to do it. And I got news for you. I don't think the Big Ten or the SEC are backing down. I think they'll do it.
I
really think they'll do it.
They have to. Now the question is, does it protect them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know how they organize or do any of that stuff, but the Big Ten and the SEC have some pretty smart lawyers.
Yeah.
Pretty smart guys. I mean, you've got Northwestern Law School feeding right into Chicago. So it's not like the Big Ten has any shortage of bright young attorneys and wizened old veteran attorneys to legally battle this against Congress, against the NCAA, against whoever. But, I mean, it's funny, and I'll leave you with this, Greg. You brought it up. It's a Super League. And it's the old adage, rules for thee, not for me. No Super League that's the Big Ten and the SEC. Yes to a Super League that's private equity and includes Texas Tech.
Woo! Unbelievable. Thank you, Moen. Unbelievable. Heartbreak 25. Greg, are you Lord of the Rings fan? We've reached the time for the elves, P2, to leave the Middle Earth. This bill is a danger to all free enterprise. I've never watched one Lord of the Rings movie or read a book. I've rarely read a book. But I've read this. Where's my big... Well... No, I don't know Lord of the Rings at all. But thank you for the $5 Heartbreak 25. Very much appreciated, sir. Detain Motion News. Detain Motion News. Thank you so much for dropping on in. I appreciate it. Thank you for the $2 holler. Are we making the call to Silent Tony? I don't think I need to make that call. I'm going to show that Pete Thamel thing again. That is, well, that's the truth, right? I mean, we know why Smash Capital is in this thing. They were sitting behind the velvet ropes during the Senate hearing. God, isn't there one senator that can ask any of these questions? Like, what about the private equity firm that wants to create a super league? This bill doesn't stop that from that happening. What about Cody Campbell and Smash Capital? They're spending all this money. There is a reason why I will never be elected senator of anything. I am the re-elected mayor of Louisville City. Thank you for the $2 holler. Detain Motion News.
Mohr Simmons.
Mohr Simmons, can you hold on for just one moment, please?
Yes.
I do appreciate it. We've got the Irishman. We've got Irish Ryan. $5 holla. Seems like I missed some things. I assume Notre Dame is feeling the love. I hate this bill, but this is a Notre Dame bill at the point minus pooling. Notre Dame, they sent out a message saying they support the effort, but they really haven't come out and said they don't support the whole bill. Yeah, I mean, and Bavacqua was honest. Bavacqua was honest. The Super League idea, 16, 18, 24 teams, 30 teams. This bill does not stop that from happening. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop it from happening. Created by your friends. Presented to you by Cody Campbell and Smash Capital. Mohr Simmons, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. Look, excuse me. Hey, now last year I did mention about Super League, and everybody was saying no, Super League ain't gonna happen. This is what was gonna come about if the Big Ten and the SEC don't make a move. This is no longer a threat. This is a promise. It's no longer a threat. This is a promise because, like I said, you brought up and I thought about it. Either way, Cody Campbell is going to try to win. He's going to win either way because he's on the outside looking in, and he also he knows private equity is licking their chops to get into college football. It is way too much money out there on the table. I keep saying this. It's way too much money on the table. And players want to get in. Amazon want to get it. It is a lot. That's just on the media side. The streamers that want to get in. And now you got a bill that's going to prevent the media companies, the streamers, from doing business in college football. It's just way too much money. Now, when I called in earlier and I said, well, remember, Florida State and Clemson went to court and you had that settlement where we can go ahead and break away and create our own little thing. Well, they could spin off on that. And I think a while back we even talked about that, that Florida State, Clemson, them schools jump out, private equity come in with them. Then that's a backdoor way where you can create a super league. You can go and poach the best of the best brands to come on in. And I mentioned on one of your shows, I said, look, it's going to be hard for Michigan, Ohio State when they get approached about all this money that's on the table, and it's going to do damage to the Big Ten. That's why I kept stressing, why is the Big Ten just sitting here waiting on Notre Dame? Why are they dragging their feet? Notre Dame, in the grand scheme of things, is small fry with what's coming. They are small fry right now what's coming. because if the Big Ten made moves, it will force Notre Dame to come into a conference. They will not survive out there being independent. I keep stressing that. SEC, if Big Ten waiting on the SEC to make the first move, why they gotta wait? You know the schools you interested in, just like Mohr said, make the move. This is no longer a threat. This is a promise. It's going to steamroll downhill on both of these conferences if you don't make a move. You sitting back here and you talking about I'm still doing due diligence on who I want to bring in, and you done had years to sit and evaluate who you want to bring in. You better whip these presidents in line and tell them the wolves are at the door. The wolves are at the door. What we gonna do? We're gonna sit here and get picked apart because it's gonna happen. Private equity is sitting out there making money, and they want to get in. I've been to that. Amazon want to get in. Apple coming in. It is just way too much money on the table. I just don't understand why. And that's why I say you're going to have these conferences have to make the move. And if it goes to court, it goes to court. But one thing they can say, hey, we got sovereignty. We can even the big brands like Florida State, Clemson. You can't restrict them to stay in a conference and let these schools die on the vine. You can't. And I know I don't speak for Florida State, but we ain't going to sit here and wait for Big Ten to decide hell or high water. Shall we get into the pool, or the SEC? Shall we get in the pool? Right now we've been sitting way too long. Everything been from the Big Ten. Well, we got to see what Notre Dame gonna do. We got to see what Notre Dame. That's been the whole talking point I've been hearing. Notre Dame. Stop it. The big picture now is private equity is at the door with Cody Campbell. Cody Campbell is going to find a backdoor way in to hell or high water, bring Texas Tech with him. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. This right here is crazy. If the Big Ten, look, I'm like this. If they don't make a move within 48 hours, something is wrong. Something is wrong. It's a failure in leadership. Something is wrong. All right.
Well, all right. I appreciate it, Morris Simmons. Thank you very much. And I think this is why, thank you, Morris Simmons. Beautiful call. Absolutely beautiful. And this is why a couple of nights ago we did the the Florida State money perch, saying about this quick strike thing that the ACC handful of ACC schools are hearing. It's an option on the table. They're going to get themselves prepared just because in case of this bill forces the Big Ten and SEC to do the quick strike. And then we had the Miami president, University of Miami president, said what he said yesterday morning. So you're seeing the dots are connecting. And then you see Pat Thamel's, the Big Ten and the SEC's concern is that private equity is going to poach teams from their conferences and to create a whole new Super League. 16, 18, 20 schools, whatever. The Big Ten and the SEC, they cannot expand. They cannot improve the value of the conference, but yet somebody outside can. And the bill doesn't stop that. Because Cody Campbell doesn't want that to stop. Anyways, thank you, Morris Simmons. Appreciate it. Kenneth Maynard Gator. Jim Phillips, work in Congress, cloak and dagger. I guess. I don't know. Thank you, Kenneth Maynard. Thank you very much for the $2 holler. I appreciate it. We got the Irishman, Ryan, massive super chat, $20 holla. I support Ryan, I support the silo idea, but the issue is that the SEC and the Big Ten may be stuck. The bill the government has shown they want control. They could force the SEC and the Big Ten back, I bet, if they break away. Government loves control and overreach. Well, the main question that we need answered, and we don't have an answer on that yet, if the Big Ten and the SEC do their silo, complete breakaway from the NCAA, does that protect them from this bill? I don't know. I don't know, Irish Ryan. I do not know, but I do know that I thank you for your incredible generosity. Massive super chat. Thank you, very kind, sir. I don't know what hour we are on in the show. 3 hours and 20 minutes. So I do appreciate the support, Ryan, and everybody else. Last word on college football reminds us, every one of us, what was mentioned in this meeting. Cantwell says the committee, and I quote, big concessions to the Big Ten, unquote, Wednesday night. They made a concession to the Big Ten Wednesday night. But Cantwell also said there is nothing that prevents further changes in the years to come. And that strikes at the heart of everything right now. That strikes at the heart, the fear that the Big Ten and the SEC has in this bill. This is only the beginning. This opens the door for government control. You remember a long time ago when Cody Campbell first presented his Saving College Sports Act. The Saving College Sports. He had a website he put up. I said at the very beginning, I reported to you all here at Peek Around the Corner that this was about government control. That is what Cody Campbell wanted. And nobody else, I mean, you didn't, all due respect, nobody was talking about it. But I kept saying it on here because, and then Ross Dellinger, a September 9th, I believe it was 2020, 25, 24, talked about Cody Campbell's real plan. It was about government control. And that's what this is. This is Cody Campbell's plan. This is his whole dream right here on a platter. And he's spending millions of dollars to get it done. Woo! Okay, Antoine Johnson. For whatever reason, I cannot populate his membership. Antoine Johnson, I do appreciate it. In the bill, it has a section that includes the NCAA and any other national intercollegiate athletic association. Maybe that includes a silo. I don't know. Antoine. I do not know. But I appreciate you becoming a member for 14 months. It's a great question that includes the NCAA and any other national intercollegiate athletic association. Great question.
From
A's on the Kid.
A's on the Kid. The floor is yours.
Yeah, so I was just going over the bill. I was actually rereading the whole thing.
Yep.
And I believe that it will affect any university regardless of their NCAA affiliation.
Okay, and that's what we just got from Antoine Johnson. Okay? So that means they're okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I know, go ahead. I really have nothing to add on that. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like, one of the things is it's incredibly frustrating because I'm not for limiting anybody's freedom of association or movement. But it's also just incredibly frustrating because everyone's complaining and crying that the government's getting involved. But all the conferences came together and were just like, we need government guidelines and rails to kind of move things along. But getting the government involved is never a good thing. And now the government's involved and everyone's crying foul about it.
They asked for an antitrust exemption to codify the class action lawsuit. They were not asking Congress to do their scheduling for them, to do their to figure out their conferences and divisions for them, and all this other stuff that the Congress is getting involved with. So they asked for an antitrust exemption, and they're getting delivered all this other stuff. And
No, trust me, I get exactly what you're saying. But when you start to get government involved, they're going to put themselves not necessarily where you want them to be. And it's like by inviting government to get involved, if you invited the fox into the hen house, and now everyone's crying foul about it.
Well, because if you do not get antitrust exemption, what are the options? The options
And that's
is what?
inherently the issue.
What?
That's inherently the issue. Is like there should have been, honestly, I think that there needs to do collective bargaining with the athletes. That would just make things a hell of a lot simpler.
Okay. Okay.
But that's an issue in and of itself that needs to be addressed. But like when you start to involve government, you're adding layers of bureaucracy and a bunch of frankly bullcrap that people don't want, don't need, and is just going to honestly cause more issues than are currently extant.
Yeah, I agree. The collective bargaining, again, if that happens, I do not know how that could happen nationally. That would have to happen in its own conferences. I think a lot of people really wanted an antitrust exemption for the member institutions to have control to govern and enforce their own rules so we could all stay together. I think that was the number one, like for all of us to stay together, all of us to be under the same NCAA umbrella or call it any other name, but we need whatever governance we have that's accountable to the member institutions. We need to have some antitrust exemption. And I think that was the goal.
It's true. The NCAA does need antitrust exemption. It's just that everyone hems and haws and complains when the NCAA does anything. So it's honestly like a big issue regardless of how you want to break it down. And now it's gotten to the point where people went to the government and the government's going to overextend and they're going to overreach.
Yep.
This is a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
All righty, sir. And he's on the kid. Any last words?
Nope, nothing else from me.
Got it. Beautiful. Beautiful call. Call again, my friend. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Have a good one.
Rock, Chalk, Jayhawk, Azon the kid. All right. Antoine Johnson, for whatever reason, I cannot populate your member for 14 months, but I do appreciate it. Antoine Johnson, Mr. Sun Devil, you are officially knighted, Cloak and Dagger. Thank you so very much. 14 months. Thank you. I appreciate it. In the bill, it has a section that includes the NCAA and any other national intercollegiate athletic association, which I think the Big Ten would be, and I think the SEC would be. All right, we're going to lock it up. We've been on the air for 3.5 hours. Woo! I do want to appreciate everybody for joining us. Thank you so much. Mohr After Dark, Christopher Hooter, Evil Badger, Bill G, Kenneth Maynard, MBM, Kayla Ramirez, Teller 580, Skaven, yes, Teller 580, Heartbreak 25, Detain Motion News, The Irish Ryan, Kenneth Maynard, Irish Ryan once again, and Antoine Johnson. Thank you so much for your support, your donations to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel so we can do these 3.5 hour live streams, Senate hearing, because there's going to be more of them. Who knows? We might have a government college sports hearing every single year to change the rules and all that great stuff that's going to be happening here in college sports. I do appreciate all joining us. I appreciate those who disagree with me as much as those who disagree with me. That is what makes this live channel happen. Thank you for the wonderful phone calls and the comments in the comments section below the video. Before you leave, make sure you smash that like button if you've liked our content. and subscribe. And don't forget to ring the notification bell after you subscribe. There's a very good chance we're coming on live later tonight with every breaking news out there in college football. So again, buckle up, brace for impact. More news is coming here at College Football Peek Around the Corner. Until next time, from all of us at PATC, to all of you, please, y'all take great care of each other. And as always, God, family, Golden Gophers.